Good morning. It's 6 o'clock on Friday, the 25th of November. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
We're live across the whole of the UK. We're on your TV, your radio and online. So wherever you are, whatever you're up to this morning, you can take us with you. These are your top stories.
Well, Black Friday is one of the biggest shopping days of the year, but it's also a prime opportunity for cyber criminals. We'll bring you tips and advice on how to keep your money safe.
Both England and Wales are in World Cup action later. We're live in Qatar and Cardiff as the excitement builds on another busy day, while Brazil proved why they're favourites with an impressive win against Serbia.
And we'll have the results from the latest GB News People's Poll. How did you vote? Stay with us to find out.
As ever, we'd love to hear from you this morning. Anything you want to talk about, Black Friday deals, you're spending money that you shouldn't.
Silly gadgets that you bought or that you'd like to buy.
I'm a bit guilty of that sort of thing. And are you ready for Christmas? I'm buying the Christmas tree tomorrow. So there you go.
I swore I'd have mine up and decorated by now, and I still haven't.
Haven't you?
No.
I'm surprised.
No, I've been tidying up instead.
Oh, that's not
Doing a load of paperwork and stuff like that. Boring.
Well, get it done tomorrow like me.
Yeah.
GB Views at gbnews.uk. Let us know what you think.
Actually, that's a prime opportunity, isn't it, for you to send us your pictures. Have you got your tree up yet? And what does it look like? What sort of colour scheme are you going for?
Oh, just multicoloured.
Multicoloured.
Multicoloured
Last
LEDs.
year I did nothing but white. And I've got a big box of just nothing but white baubles, but I feel like doing something different this year.
And we're all for the colour. We like the colour.
Have you got a colour scheme on your tree? If you've got a tree you're proud of, take a picture of it and send it in. I know it's stupid early, but why not? Let's have a look at your trees. GB Views at gbnews.uk.
Now, let's talk sport, should we? And the World Cup. England and Wales are back in action today. Matches against the United States and Iran, respectively. Wales kicking off at 10 o'clock against Iran, hoping to avoid a slow start like last time.
And then England are playing this evening at 7 o'clock, where a win would see them qualify for the last 16.
Well, our reporter Paul Hawkins is in Qatar for us this morning, having a whale of a time, no doubt, Paul. So, first and foremost, all eyes on Wales then this morning. I mean, they stand a reasonable chance, don't they?
Yeah, they absolutely they have a decent chance. I mean, look, Wales are a decent side. In the first game, probably a little bit under par in the first half against the USA, and then they picked it up in the second half. Against Iran, given how Iran played against England, and England were really good, you would have thought that the odds are on a Welsh victory, but it won't be easy because, as Rob Page, the Wales manager, has said, there will be that reaction from Iran. So kick-off is also 1 o'clock, which at this time of day here is in the high 20s, early 30s. So it's going to be much harder at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. But yeah, it's a 1 o'clock kick-off. This is what the Wales manager, Rob Page, had to say.
Both teams want to go out and win. Iran are going to want to have a reaction from the disappointing defeat. I think they'll have looked at the fixtures and forecast where they can pick points up. England was a free game for him, and I think that's why the manager changed the shape throughout the success that he's had. I know he's only been back at a short time, but he plays a certain way, 4-3-3, like USA, and he changed it for that game. But I think that was purely just because it was England and the quality and depth that they've got. So I think we won't be too surprised in the formation he picks against us. And like you said, both teams they'll need to win, realistically, and we want to win. So it'll make for an entertaining game.
So that's Rob Page, the Wales manager. Speak now to a Wales fan, find out how they're feeling about it. Rio, how are you? What?
I'm good.
Yeah, how old are you, Rio?
9.
9? I mean, for a lot of people, this is their first World Cup. How excited are you?
Really excited.
Yeah, I'm just checking. You're not here by yourself, are you?
No.
No. Where's Mum and Dad? Where's Mum and Dad? Oh, your grandparents. Hello. First of all, how are you feeling about playing Iran later?
I think we're going to smash them.
You're going to smash them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which players should we be looking out for?
I think from Iran, I think we should be looking out for tomorrow. I think he's a really good striker. But I think Ben Davies and Rodon could definitely won't let the Iran attack get past them.
Yeah, and Joe Allen, he's going to be fit. Do you think you should pick him? Rob Page?
I think they should put him on the bench just because he wasn't playing last game and he's not that fit, and then bring him on second half. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and Gareth Bale, what have you got to say about him?
I think he's amazing. I think he's going to score a hat-trick today.
Yeah. Are you enjoying your time at the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you having a good time in Qatar?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Thank you for speaking to us. Really appreciate it. 9-year-old Rio there. Hey, listen, only people who are sort of maybe 70 years old or older will remember the last time Wales was in a World Cup, 1958. For England, it's a much more regular affair. They take on the USA at 10 o'clock this evening, so it'll be much, much cooler, much easier. Expect a much higher pace game than the first game they played. Not just because of the time of day, but also because the USA are a younger, more inexperienced opposition. This is what the England manager Gareth Southgate had to say about this evening's fixture.
Have we ever beaten the States in a major tournament? No, I didn't think so. So tomorrow we have to try to make history, number one. We're good at that. We're good at talking highly of ourselves as a nation and on the basis of very little evidence. So what we've got to do is perform on the field, and we know that we'll play a highly motivated team, perhaps even more motivated because of some of those types of headlines. But we've got huge respect for our opponent. We know a lot of the players from our league, and we know the quality that they have and the athleticism that they have. So we've got to be at our best, and the risk for us is that we think, because we played well the other day, we can just go through to the next game. We've got to find that reset button to have the same psychology, the same determination. I do see that in the players. All of our players are playing at big clubs. They have to perform every week. They know when they come with England, they've got to do the same. So I don't think we'll be underestimating the USA team at all.
Yeah, so look, England aren't being complacent. The USA, yes, they're inexperienced, yes, they're a young side, but they're not to be underestimated, as we saw against Wales. So that one kicks off at 10 o'clock local time here. That's 7 o'clock your time, and then the Wales game is at 1 p.m. local time, 10 a.m. your time.
Lovely. Paul, thanks very much indeed. It's nice and exotic out there.
It's just the idea of it being high 20s, low 30s is rather nice.
Very nice, isn't it?
Warmth would be lovely.
No such joy over here for Aidan McGee. You didn't get a go. I think you've been put out of a job by Rio.
Yeah, I was just thinking, actually.
He was very good, wasn't he, for a 9-year-old?
Well, I was telling you how good he was, and I could see you thinking over, maybe we should get him in instead of Aidan McGee. Yeah, I can see what you're thinking. I was following that.
What a lovely dream, though, for him. He's obviously such a keen fan.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably
out there watching Wales.
Yeah, the 64 years thing doesn't mean much to him, really, because if he's 9 years old and he's seen Wales play in a World Cup, and he presumably was, 5 years old when he saw him playing the Euros, it's probably quite normal for him. I remember seeing England playing my first World Cup in 1986, so I'd have been, 8, 9? So it's about the same as him, so I hope they can follow it up, as England have done since, and play well, but hopefully achieve something, which is something England haven't done much.
Those football managers could do with a bit of more excitement, couldn't they?
Well, they could, but I guess I've spoken to lots of managers down the years, and they said the key to being successful in the job is not getting too excited and riling people up when things are going well, but also not getting too downbeat when things are going badly. It's an effort in diplomacy. Every football manager now, especially at international level, when you're carrying the hopes of a nation, has to be a consummate politician. It's a sad way of the world, but in the social media era, it's probably more important than ever before.
Well, I mean, what are our chances, England's chances, against the US?
Well, look, the US have posed problems for us in the past. However, I would say that one of those was in 1950. So we're going back. We're going back through in the midst of time there. But 12 years ago, difficult as well. I think because they consider England to be the mother nation of football, they often raise their game. They are a side that can get out of the groups now, the USA. But tonight is an opportunity for England to get the job done. There's been all this conjecture in the lead up to this game about Harry Kane with his ankle scan. Is he going to play? Well, it's a big game, and you use your best players, and that's what you do. If they get the job done tonight, then the opportunity presents itself in the next game, in the group game, the last group game, which will probably be a dead rubber because England will have qualified to rest him then. Also, if England win tonight, depending on how Wales do, if Wales do well this morning against Iran, that puts huge pressure on the USA tonight, because for both teams it's probably, well, certainly for Wales today, I think it was a must-win game. You talk about Robert Page and these England managers not getting and England and Wales managers not getting too excited. That's probably why, because I think deep down deep down they know they have to win today, really, because they don't want to be going into that last game against England looking for a win.
Okay.
But in terms of our chances, look, I've seen Brazil's play so far. I've seen Spain. They're the only teams I've seen so far that I think could trouble England. I said at the beginning, England could win, as Sod's Law would have it, the most unpopular World Cup ever.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, we'll make it. Yeah. I mean,
We'll see. Long way to go.
yeah, yes, there is a long way. Actually, how long is the whole thing going to
It's
take?
29 days. Angela Rippon was on last week. She said, I can't wait for day 30.
Yeah, I think I feel the same, actually. I don't know. It's very difficult to whether to get excited about it or not. There is this shadow hanging over it.
Well, there is, but also we're still very early in the tournament as well. You know, let us progress and let the excitement build up, and then hopefully some of the negativity at the start will try and nip away a little bit.
Yeah, maybe so. Aidan, thank you. Catch up with you later.
Yes, I wonder what you do when your other half is talking football endlessly or watching football endlessly, and maybe you're not into it. What do you do? What do you go away and do? How is it the next 30 days going to be for you? Do let us know. GBViews at gbnews.uk.
Yes, hellish for some people, I should imagine. It is 11 minutes past 6. Let's bring you up to date with what else is going on today. And NHS nurses will hold their first ever national strike action next month after accusing ministers of refusing to negotiate. The Royal College of Nursing says the government turned down its offer of formal talks as an alternative to industrial action. Nurses in England, Wales and Northern Ireland will walk out for 2 days or 2 12-hour shifts on the 15th and 20th of December.
A man charged with the murders of a mother and 2 children in Nottingham is due to appear in court today. Jamie Barrow is charged with the murders of Fatimata Haidara and her daughters, aged 3 and 1. They died from smoke inhalation following a fire at their home in Clifton on Sunday.
The Prime Minister could crack down on foreign students who bring a dependent and sturdy low-quality degrees. After the latest ONS figures show just more than 500,000 people moved to the UK, then left in the year to June. It's the highest level since the Second World War. The Prime Minister, we're told, is fully committed to bringing overall immigration levels down.
And the Deputy Prime Minister has rejected claims that he broke the ministerial code by bullying civil servants during his tenure as Foreign Secretary and Justice Secretary. Dominic Raab is facing new allegations now that he used his personal email and iPhone to intimidate staff. The Prime Minister has already appointed a senior employment lawyer to investigate those formal complaints.
I feel incredibly sorry about that story in Nottingham. I mean, it's a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy. And I used to live in Clifton.
Clifton,
actually.
yes. I was worried. I didn't know there was a Clifton in Nottingham as well as a Clifton in Bristol.
Yeah, it's by the Nottingham Trent University. One of their campuses is in Clifton. And when it's an area that you know, I mean, obviously it must be, if you live in that area, it must be absolutely awful for you to come to terms with what's happened. But even just someone who lived there 30 years ago, you sort of think, heck, how can that happen? How can that happen in, you know, just an ordinary little spot?
That's often people's reaction, isn't it? How could something terrible happen in such a nice place where most people are lovely?
Yeah.
And I get that's always the shock when something terrible happens, isn't it? But yeah, that's awful. On a lighter note, we were talking earlier about Black Friday. It's Black Friday today, which is a day when we're all meant to go out and buy something we would never have thought of buying otherwise.
But you see, this is where it gets confusing, because I said when we got into the newsroom this morning, I thought Black Friday was last Friday.
Yeah, the hype of it started
because it
last
popped
Friday.
up on Amazon saying, oh, Black Friday deals last Friday. So I thought it was last Friday.
Yeah.
So I've been buying stuff all week thinking I was getting
Have you?
maybe
What have you been buying?
various Christmas presents for people, so I shan't mention in case they're watching.
Yeah.
But
Did
also,
you get a good deal on them?
well, yes, I think so, because I'm no fool when it comes to money. I'm a proper northerner. I've got short arms and long pockets, so I don't like spending money most of the time.
Although he's got a kitchen bin that he speaks to.
Well, no, you speak to it.
Yeah, you speak to. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
say
yeah.
open bin.
Open bin, and
it opens.
And you've just bought a new bin that doesn't do that.
No. And do you know how much the difference is between the talking version or the listening version and the non-listening version? £100 difference. And it's a kitchen bin.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I've had it for quite a few years.
Do you actually use the talking feature?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? OK.
Yeah. But that was where, I mean, that was a splurge. few years ago.
I want a bin that follows me around the kitchen, but they haven't invented it yet.
Oh.
Because you know when you're chopping and doing all the rest of it, you're never near the bin where you want the bin to be, are you? You always end up in a part of the kitchen where there isn't the bin, and then you have to carry stuff over or whatever. I don't know.
Fair point, actually.
Why don't they do a bin that I think it should look a bit like an R2-D2,
Right.
and it follows you round,
That would be good.
or you whistle for it and it comes?
Yeah, that's...
Why
that's
not?
a good idea.
It's a great idea, isn't it?
But you do end up buying stuff that you don't need, a bit like the bin I can speak to. And I saw an advert for a fridge last night or the night before, and it had a glass, like a mirrored front, and the advert shows this girl knocking on it, and it goes clear, and so you can see in the... Well, yeah, but why don't you just open the door?
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. You go, oh, wow, that's amazing, but do you actually need it?
But that's the point about Black Friday, I think, and all of the other days around it, because you don't just have to buy anything today. You do end up buying things that you don't need, and that you don't really want, and also the things that you really want aren't on the deal.
Yeah.
So you end up buying a version of something that you don't really want. But will you do it? That's in normal times, but would you do it this year? I think they may well find that we're not spending money like we used to.
Maybe not.
Well, I'm not, and if it's having an effect on me, it must be having an effect on lots of people.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. No, it's a very interesting point. But if it's stuff that you do need, and you think...
Then it's worth having a look at the bargains. But as we're going to be telling you throughout the programme...
Oh, yes, be careful.
The scammers are out as well, and they're very, very clever. I don't know whether you've almost been pulled in, whether you've had a text or an email or something that it sounds good, maybe sounds as though it is tied to Black Friday, but it's just another way of getting your email address or your name and address or whatever. Be really careful, because they're out and they're very sophisticated.
Talking of the economy, when it comes to filling the gaps in Britain's economy, it seems like you agree with Sir Keir Starmer. At least that's according to our GB News People's poll.
Yeah, when asked who you want to fill gaps in the economy, 60% of people want the government to prioritise training British workers, whilst only 9% say immigration.
Now, when voters are asked whether they'd support changing Britain's current relationship with the EU to a Swiss-style relationship, that was talked about last week, only 32% of voters say they would support this, falling to 15% amongst Conservatives and 13% amongst people who voted for Brexit.
Now, do the public support England's footballers taking the knee at the World Cup? Apparently, according to our poll, 40% do support that, 23% oppose it.
Well, quite interesting sort of set of results, really, for some wide-ranging questions. Let's talk to immigration lawyer Skylar McKeith, who joins us now. Skylar, morning to you. On this immigration question, it is very interesting, actually, because it follows on almost exactly from what Keir Starmer has been proposing, saying immigration, is not the answer to solving staffing problems in organisations like the NHS.
Yeah, well, so what it comes down to is Brits want to keep the jobs in the UK for the British people rather than looking overseas to recruit, which is a fundamental principle of Brexit. And the issue here is we are dealing with a labour shortage following Brexit and the COVID lockdowns, and there are now fewer EU citizens moving to the UK. There are many jobs available, but these jobs are not being filled. So the issue is that Brits do not want a large majority of the jobs needing to be filled. And if companies have the resources and the funds to train British workers, then they absolutely should do that. But training people also does take time. And there are a lot of lower skilled jobs that don't necessarily need much training, but Brits are not taking those jobs. So to really thoroughly tackle the labour shortage, lower paid jobs such as cleaners and lower skill hospitality jobs need to be made eligible for visas. But the Home Office has stated that lower paid jobs will only be made eligible for visas in exceptional circumstances. So the current system is not really conducive to people considered to be low skilled, despite a heavy need for these workers. And I'll give you an example of that. So certain low skilled jobs such as cleaning staff, supermarket workers and also delivery drivers are not eligible for visas. And the hardest hit sectors are healthcare and hospitality.
It makes you wonder what on earth we can do about that, because if you've got a whole section of British potential workforce, only potential, and they are not actually wanting to work, they're not wanting to do those jobs, I mean, how can you make them? You can't, can you? Even if you offer pretty good sort of retraining deals.
Exactly. Well, the Director General of the Confederation of British Industry said that we should actually use immigration on a fixed term basis to plug the gaps until British workers are ready to do the jobs. So, I mean, to address the labour shortage problem, we have some options, and that's either to train Brits, but that can take time, and that still may not solve the need for lower skilled jobs to be filled. And the second option is to add more types of jobs to the list of eligible jobs for visas. And the third would be to reduce home office fees so that more employers are able to sponsor workers for jobs that are eligible for visas, because it's very expensive for employers to sponsor foreign workers for certain jobs.
But we are, I mean, looking at a situation, was it 504,000? 500,000 people in net migration in the last year alone. I mean, the biggest since the Second World War. I mean, we've got a lot of people legally coming into this country, and we all know that just the figures can't hold up. That can't continue, can it?
No. So a lot of it is illegal migration in addition to legal migration. And no, there's a massive backlog at the moment at the Home Office across a wide range of immigration categories. So asylum claims, but also skilled worker visas. I recently had a client, they applied from inside the UK for a skilled worker visa. It took 18 weeks for them to receive a decision. And that's due to the backlog that the Home Office does not have the resources to process the amount of applications in a timely manner, and this is difficult on employers, employees, on the economy, and so something really does need to be done about this.
Skylar, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Do you know what worries me though slightly is the idea, and Skylar's saying to plug the gap, you sort of lower the bar that allows people to come into the country on a legal basis. You then end up, and we've almost got it at the moment, where the lowest paid jobs and the more sort of subservient jobs
are the immigrants.
Immigrants, which creates, I think, a really odd dynamic.
A weird class culture almost.
Yes. Where it's like
which would feel like a huge step backwards.
If you're a foreigner, then you come in and you do jobs which serve us.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem right to me.
No, it's not. That's not the answer either, is it?
No, and if there's...
And so many employers, whenever we talk about this, get in touch and say, I've got jobs available, but British people don't want to do them.
Well, if you're on benefits, you've got to be... You can't turn down jobs. People... I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Find ways to, don't they?
But there's got to be... if there's jobs to be done, do the jobs. And then that's how you progress, isn't it?
So is the answer better pay? Would you take a cleaning job if it was better paid? I think there are a lot of people who simply wouldn't do that either.
See, I've got to say, if I needed a job, if I was in a situation where I just didn't have a job and I was busy looking for, even in this industry, I was looking for another job in this industry, and a job came up cleaning, or whatever, I would do it. I would just do it, just to at least have a reason to get up in the morning and to keep a bit of money coming in and all the rest of it. I would do that.
Is that the answer then, is to make those what we call lesser jobs, is to make them better paid, to incentivise people to actually get up and go and do them?
And to have a bit more respect for them. I always think people always frown at the idea of being, especially when you're at school and things, the idea of being a binman.
Yeah.
But what happens if we don't have them?
Oh,
I mean, it's happened. Well,
yes.
The world literally grinds to a halt. If the binmen go on strike, we've got problems. So I think we need to have more respect for all jobs.
Yes, exactly. And they did say during lockdown that we would get more respect for those sort of jobs. And we've gone right back to square one, haven't we?
Yeah.
We haven't really learned anything, have we? No.
Anyway, let us know what you think. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
And don't forget to send us pictures of your Christmas tree.
Oh, yes, if you've got it all up and running, let us know. Much more to come, including, and this is a crucial one, how to stay safe when you're shopping online, especially during these Black Friday deals.
Good morning, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office. A bright and breezy Friday out there today. Sunny spells for most, and not much in the way of rain. We've certainly had a lot of wet and windy weather over the past 48 hours from a couple of weather fronts in this low pressure system. But here, this little bump in the isobars is what we call a little ridge, and that will bring, as I say, most of us a fine day. Not everywhere. Still in the west, there are a few showers feeding in parts of South Wales, Southwest England this morning, Northwest England too, and we'll keep showers going over the Highlands and the Western Isles through the day. Some will just get through the central belt and perhaps into parts of Aberdeenshire, but I say for many it will be dry and bright with some decent spells of sunshine. Still a bit breezy, nothing like as lively as the winds have been. And temperatures responding to a bit of sunshine, double figures almost across the board. Maybe only 8 or 9 in the eastern parts of Scotland, but in the south we could see highs of 13 Celsius, pretty mild for the time of year. It will turn quite cold quite quickly this evening if you're heading out. Most places will be dry. Still the odd shower for West Wales, Northwest England, but I say most places will be dry. Some wet weather will keep going across the far north of Scotland. With those lighter winds and clearer skies, it will turn quite chilly with frost in certainly rural areas over the Midlands and eastern England to start the weekend. Further west, though, the breeze will be picking up and the next weather system will be on the way, bringing rain to Northern Ireland initially on Saturday morning, but it will spread to parts of western Scotland and by lunchtime into parts of Wales and western England too. I suspect much of the Midlands, eastern England, some parts of Aberdeenshire won't see any rain until quite late in the day, and much of East Anglia in the southeast will stay dry, certainly until after sunset. It will be turning windy though during tomorrow, the wind's steadily picking up, but it is going to bring mild air with it, so temperatures in the teens, as they could be on Sunday. There could also be some stubborn rain across East Anglia in the southeast on Sunday. Some question marks about that, but elsewhere looking a little brighter.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something good happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak.
Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narinda.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
It is 6:29. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Yeah, and he's been buying things, I think.
I have just been buying it because I've forgotten that I needed to buy something and I'll be in trouble.
Oh, yeah, that's an excuse. Am I going to hear that all morning now, am I?
Yeah, but just things, you know,
Every
those...
time we go to a commercial break, he's going to be buying something.
You know those little strips that you stick on, so you can put little hooks on,
Yeah.
just for Christmas decorations and things. We've got the hooks, haven't got enough strips. And I forgot to order some last night and just reminded me.
OK. You've got your Christmas wreaths up on the door.
Yes.
Right.
Already. I did that a week ago, and I thought of you when I put them up. Because I bet I'm getting these up before Anne's got any
Yeah, you really
decorations up.
have. Yeah, I did all the talking about it, but I actually haven't done anything about it. Tony in Suffolk's already been in touch. Hi there, Tony. Says about Christmas trees, nothing is going up until we're in December. I'm of an age who remembers the tree being decorated on Christmas Eve and being taken down on Boxing Day.
Oh.
That is just too quick, isn't it?
That's a bit harsh.
Because you have to go to all that bother of getting a tree and then decorating it to only have it up for 2 days.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, the reason we're getting ours tomorrow is because that's when the local place opens, selling the real Christmas tree. And you sort of think, well, you better go on the day it opens, get the best trees.
Get the best one, yeah.
So...
I still don't know about that.
So there you go.
I haven't got my tree yet. Don't know whether to get a real one or not.
Or maybe you could buy, if you get a fake one, maybe you could get a Black Friday deal on one. Because we'll be on.
It is Black Friday today.
It is Black Friday today, and loads of you, of course, might have already been searching for the best deals online, but it's not always as good as it seems. Identity fraud attempts have increased by more than 20% over the last year, and they're expected to peak in the next couple of weeks.
And some of these scams are really sophisticated, and they've been targeting the rising popularity of energy-saving goods like air fryers. Apparently, that's a huge one. Be very careful if you see a bargain air fryer, because it may not be everything you want. And also, a lot of the scams are literally selling goods that just don't exist.
Yeah. So let's talk to Fraud Product Director at Experian, Tristan Prince. Morning, Tristan. What do we need to do? What do we need to look out for to make sure what we're getting is A, a decent deal, and B, a real deal?
I think the first thing I would say is if something appears to be too good to be true, then it probably is. So if you're seeing the latest games console at half the price that you could find it at any other reputable retailer, then chances are you're probably looking at a site that's been set up potentially by a fraudster to scrape your card details and to scrape your personal information. So I think my first thing would be, if something's too good to be true, it probably is.
And then I guess also really, really read the small print, because I was looking at deals for, I wanted to do a girly getaway at a health spa. And some of the Black Friday deals look really, really good. And then you find they're only based on double occupancy. So basically you're taking out a hotel room, but for 2 people, and you pay twice what looks like the bargain offer. So you've got to really read the small print before you fall for it.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of things there. So definitely reading the small print on exactly what you're being offered. The second thing is just checking that the information that you're being sent is genuine. So this time of year, fraudsters know that people are buying more. You know, I've been listening away, laughing at some of the things you've been mentioning that you've been purchasing, but people are buying more. So people are more susceptible to receiving emails, text messages, even telephone calls around parcels and items. And so what you'll tend to find this time of year is people are being bombarded with scams by fraudsters. So if you accidentally click on the wrong link, and it might look like a genuine link, try to make sure you're looking at, does it say what I expect it to say in the link? Is the email address correct? Is the website address correct? And actually, if you think an offer's great and you want to take advantage of it, go and find that website yourself. Don't just click on a link, because fraudsters are aware that you're looking for bargains this time of year.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point. Well, you mentioned emails. I've noticed, it was only a few years ago when data protection laws came in, and everyone had to email you and say, do you want to be on our subscriber list or not? I always click not. I've been getting loads of emails from some of those companies I unsubscribed from years ago now. I mean, could they be scams? Is it just people breaking the law when it comes to using our data? What's going on?
Well, what you've got to think about is, firstly as well, data breaches are on the increase. So data breaches overall globally, there are 211% increase in data breaches globally. So data is available on the dark web, and fraudsters are using that data in order to extract as much value as possible from genuine consumers like yourself and I. So what you may well see is some of those emails that you're receiving are actually as a result of data breaches, where fraudsters have got hold of old pots of data and are now using that, and potentially using the guise of a company that you used to trade with in order to attract information from you receive your identity information. So I'd really take care whenever you see something like that. Probably the best course of action is to report it as spam using your email filter.
Yeah, I mean, so basically the top tips are if you're being asked to click on a link, think very seriously about whether that's what you want to do, because the minute you click on the link, you could be losing your personal data. Is that right?
Absolutely. So I would always say, use password protectors and things like that to protect your basic accounts. I would say if someone called you and they've got something urgent they need to discuss with you, take 5 seconds, put the phone down and say, I'll call you back. Find the genuine company's number to contact them. The other thing I would always really urge consumers to do is to report it. There's plenty of services out there like Action Fraud. There's a text message service that you can use. If you forward a text message that you suspect to be a scam to 7726, then actually they will investigate it. And in September alone, there were 15,000 scams stopped as a result of people forwarding to that telephone number. So we've all got a joint duty, businesses and consumers alike, to help prevent scams and fraud this Christmas.
In terms of protection, and I know some people get very worked up at companies like Amazon and what have you for various reasons. But I mean, even Amazon through their marketplace you could still fall victim to a scam. But you've got protection, haven't you, with these bigger companies, with Amazon, with PayPal, with credit card companies, so that if you do get ripped off, you at least can get your money back.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, again, why my tip would be always try to use a reputable retailer. So the reputable organisations out there, they'll be using fraud prevention checks to make sure they're not accepting orders from people using false details. They'll provide payment protection, or they'll provide protection and insurance to your purchasers as well. So exactly as you say, those reputable organisations will be taking a duty of care to protect genuine consumers, but also they'll make sure that you're not left out of pocket this Christmas.
So are you going to be buying lots of stuff this Black Friday today?
I think if you ask my wife and my postman, I think the amount of parcels that I receive daily is increasing on an exponential level at the moment. So yeah, I'll definitely be purchasing online, but as I say, I'll be always looking out for those deals that are too good to be true. And if I find them to be too good to be true, I'll be reporting them.
Yeah, that's the main thing to remember, isn't it? If it's too good to be true, even though it's Black Friday, it probably isn't true.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much indeed for those handy hints. We all need to be especially aware today in the coming weeks, I think, don't we?
We do. Tristan, thank you. It's I was once and once only scammed out of. I was buying, my nephew wanted a pair of fancy earphones for Christmas. I mean, it's, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago now. And there was a pair of these fancy ones, and they were literally sort of under half price of anywhere else you could see them.
So what happened?
So I ordered them.
Yeah. Did they ever?
Paid for them.
Yeah.
Never turned up. But I did it on a credit card and was able to get my money back. But yeah, and it was just that thing. Of course, it was too good to be true.
Yes.
Why would they be selling them at less than half price than anybody else?
And that's the problem with it being Black Friday, I think. We're going to be more susceptible to what looks like a really good deal because we think, well, it's Black Friday, so it's a great Black Friday deal. But I think the basic rule still applies. If it's too good to be true, then it is too good to be true.
Yeah, think
shame,
carefully.
Isn't
It is a shame, but there's some blooming horrible people out there, basically.
They really are.
Anyway, keep your thoughts coming through on that. GBviews at gbnews.uk. Just to say, we're talking about people working over here and not using migration to fill a lot of the jobs.
Yeah, and the fact that Brits don't seem to want those jobs.
Yeah. Dave in the Wirral says the problem is many people from the UK have had it very good for many years with a very generous benefit system. When the benefit system becomes less generous, people need to work. They just don't want to.
Well, Karen's got an interesting one. She says, can we not relax the employment laws regarding young people to fill some of these gaps? I worked part-time after school in a newsagent and all my friends had Saturday jobs in supermarkets or they were waitressing or cleaning. We loved having our own money and we didn't mind doing those jobs.
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are now.
They are quite tough. It is quite difficult.
I always had a Saturday job.
It's very difficult to find a Saturday job for kids nowadays unless you know somebody.
Right.
But the employment laws are quite tough. And I don't know.
No, I don't know how you balance that one. I worked in a cafe. I was a waiter.
At what age?
14, 15, something like that.
See, I did the washing up at a local girls' public school.
Yeah.
I used to go in the evenings and do the washing up.
All right.
I didn't mind doing that.
No, because it's money in your pocket at the end of the
It was
day.
very hot and steamy is all I remember.
Plus you don't have to
Enormous dishwasher the size of a car.
Oh.
And you just had to fill it and then opening it was like, woo, it was like being in a sauna. Unbelievable.
Oh.
But yeah, I think that's a really interesting point because if you make it maybe slightly more easy for youngsters to have those little evening jobs or afternoon jobs or whatever. And I can hear the howls of people saying, surely we've gone past that now. But doesn't it teach you a work ethic as well?
It does.
And that you're never too posh to do some of those menial jobs.
No, quite right.
Because it's nice to have the money.
I think it's a good idea. But anyway, let us know what you think. Much more to come, including all the news and views from this morning's newspapers.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store? You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12, on TV, on radio and online.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Don't know what's going on.
There's a camera in the way, which is quite interesting.
We're just very upset by that promo because we were in it.
Yeah, it sounded very important.
It's very important. Far too important
Serious.
for us.
Yes, I think that's what it was. Very good morning, though.
Anyway, there we go.
Yeah,
We've
you're
got a
watching
clear
Stephen
view.
and Anne. It's nice to be back. It's lovely to be back with you.
Oh, yes, and thank you to Caroline in North Devon and Jane, who are glad to see us back.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Now, let's take you through the papers. Should we start with The Guardian? MPs urge an investigation into PPE contracts after revelations regarding the Tory peer, Michelle Mone.
In the Mail, GPs vote to shut their doors at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m, 9 to 5, in other words, claiming that longer work days discriminate against doctors with families.
The Express says Suella Braverman has vowed to cut the number of people coming to the UK as net migration hits a record of 504,000 in the last year.
And in the Daily Star, never mind Black Friday, it's Bunk Off Friday, with football fans set to leave work early to watch England play the USA in the World Cup. I thought it was at 7 o'clock our time.
Oh, I don't know.
It's 7 o'clock our time, so you don't need to bunk off at all.
Well, everyone's Welsh today then, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Fair enough. We've got a bit of Welsh in us somewhere. Time to go through the papers now with former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Redrop, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Morning to you both. Liz, let's start with a bit of migration, should we, in the Express?
So the headline is a record 504,000 immigrants coming in. It's a very emotive subject, isn't it? So let's have the facts. The reality is there were 1.1 million people who legally came to the UK last year, and approximately 500,000, over 500,000 left. So the net figure is we increased by 500,000. So this is a different situation from people coming over the channel in boats.
Yes, this is legal.
This is legal. Now, it's still a lot, so we'll come on to that, but it's legal. So the figures are 144,600 Ukrainians who were invited, all endorsed by the people of this country, all accommodated on a special scheme to stay in other people's homes. So they're not forcing people out of hotels or hostels.
And we know that most of them want to go back.
Well, we don't know that, but it's suggested that most of them will. Nearly 23,000 from Afghanistan. That was a pledge, you know. When the Americans withdrew from Afghanistan, we will take the people that helped us, such as translators, etc. And 144,000 from Hong Kong. Again, a government pledge. The people of Hong Kong who are highly skilled and educated, mainly want to come here and bring the skills to help the economy. They were encouraged to come here as our legacy from the imperial colonial years. Then the rest is 277,000 students. This is where it gets a bit dodgy.
I was going to say, are these temporary?
Well, they're allowed to stay 3 years after they've completed their degree, so they could stay, you know, 6 years or more if they did a PhD or a master's. What the government is saying about these... I mean, it's a broad headline, Suella's going to clamp down. So there are various suggestions taking away the hysteria from this situation. I really do think there's something dodgy about our system of student visas. So what the government's saying is we're only going to allow this to continue with really prestigious universities. That's not being snooty. So we're talking about the Russell Group, Oxford, Cambridge, Manchester, Warwick, Bristol, etc.
Well, it's quite snooty because a lot of universities absolutely rely on them.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there are scams going on. I could set up the University of the North Circular Road to come and study, you know, DJ management or something from Nigeria for 3 years, and then go on to do a PhD in leisure centre management. But what the government's saying is we want to make sure these are bona fide courses. Now, they pay a lot more. It's been encouraged, and rightly so, because we do have a world-class education sector, and it's a great export. One of my son's friends was on a postgraduate. She got a first in classics, then she was on a postgraduate degree at Warwick Business School, and it was £29,000 a year. But the Chinese students, and she was the only one on the course that wasn't from China, were paying a lot more than that. Yeah,
She was the only one on the course that wasn't from China. But a lot of the universities will say this is the only way we can keep going.
No, it's a great export.
But the question is, if we clamp down on the number of foreign students who come here to study, are we going to see the closure of some universities?
Can I just finally say, OK, we are talking, though, about an increase to the population of the size of the city of Leeds, where I was this week. And when you walk round, you see the bustling city, there's sprawling suburbs. It gives you in your mind's eye what this actually means.
Oscar, let's have a look at PPE contracts, should we?
Yeah, let's. This is quite troubling. I mean, I think the VIP lanes and PPE contracts, and if, you know, government basically kind of dished out, you know, millions and millions of pounds worth of contracts to kind of, in inverted commas, mates. I think we've known this has been bubbling in the background, in the headlines and in political circles, basically since COVID. But now after I almost say this begrudgingly, but a very, very impressive, to be fair, Guardian investigation is now kind of, in terms of the political agenda, has moved pretty high up, and MPs from across all parties are actually saying we probably need to have an investigation, look into this. This slightly surprised me a little bit because I know there is going to be a COVID inquiry.
Yes,
so
one would expect
you would expect this to almost be wrapped up in there. I mean, it would be incredibly awkward for the government, and it's interesting, and I think Labour, you will see, will latch onto this investigation and really hammer down on it. And you sense, when you talk to people, like, dodgy PPE contracts, it's quite high on people just kind of chat down the pub about things they didn't like about the government. You do hear it a lot, and I think Starmer will really want to kind of stir that. He wants the British people, the British public, to be angry.
Well, very clearly there is something there.
Completely. It doesn't smell particularly right. No. I think the timeline, because you're now seeing government ministers, and the government line on this has been pretty consistent, which is, all processes were awarded, in line with procurement regulations, transparently guidance, done correctly through the civil service. And they will really, really, really have to be certain that line holds scrutiny if an investigation and more, in Guardian, I'm sure the Guardian will be right after this.
There's an intent issue, though, isn't there? In the fact that when there was, an emergency, now, however you view it yourself, but the idea that there's an emergency we needed to get hold of, if you knew a minister, you would sort something out quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's where there's a natural human probably response to it, which is, decisions, we forget the situation we were in, and decisions were being made minute to minute, day by day, and the stakes were so high. So you're right. So if I know someone who can, get PPE into hospitals, as long as I'd conduct it through the official channels.
I have to admit, I forwarded someone got in touch with me and said, but my friend runs a company that can do X, Y, and Z, and I forwarded it on to ministers that I know.
Yeah.
Now, I've no idea whether they were awarded contracts or not, but you just think, here's pass it on, pass it on,
and so
pass it on.
You have to accept that maybe mistakes were made. It's whether or not it's intent, as you say. It's whether or not it was negligent.
It is a bit of a shame that it kind of clouds, because the other clouds kind of the headlines on the PPE COVID story, because you forget that there were so many incredible local businesses up and down the country that all of a sudden chucked in their day jobs, if you like, what they normally produce, and actually it was kind of like the spirit of kind of World War II almost, and so it's a shame that these headlines detract from that.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the Mail, Liz. GPs are going to close early.
Oh, right, sorry. I was ready with the Royal Mail there. OK, well, this is...
Oh, it infuriates me.
It's not a surprise, is it? Because we're already learning how many GPs are working part-time. And not long after they come out of university, one of the suggestions for why this is happening is because there are now more female graduating as medics, and they want to have time off for children and families. But it's infuriating for people.
That's the wrong paper there.
That's the Royal Mail.
There you go, that's all.
It's infuriating for people to hear this, who are having so much trouble getting to see a doctor. And we've got a backlog, haven't we, of 7.5 million people on waiting lists, and an excess deaths of, was it 800 last week or something, of people who've died from untreated...
So basically, the
undetected
GPs are now
cancer.
voting on whether they want a 9 to 5 job.
It's 9 to 5, and if you wanted to see a GP anyway outside of those hours, before this officially was requested, I'm sure it would have been really difficult. I mean, we all know you have to get on the phone at 8 o'clock, you get through at 8:30, and if you're lucky, and they tell you everything's gone. And I've said before in the programme, when I needed to see a doctor earlier this year, very evident problem, then 5 weeks it took me to get sorted out and fixed with the right medication, antibiotics. And that time I did not see a doctor. I was handed from nurse to nurse, and it was impossible.
I think almost every individual will have a story like that.
Yeah.
Like, from the political perspective, if whichever party, Labour, Tories, whatever, if you want to win the next general election, make people's streets feel safer, make people feel like they can get their kids into a decent school, and
get to see your doctor.
Exactly. It's really quite, in some ways, it's pretty simple stuff.
OK, look, we are out of time on that sensible advice. Liz Kershaw, Oscar Redrop, thank you both very much indeed. We'll see you in the next hour. We've just got time just to give you a little bit of Christmas spirit this morning.
We thought we'd ask you for pictures of your Christmas decorations if you've got them up. So David in Rugby sent this in.
Which is very nice.
Very
Christmas
classy
all
tree.
in white.
Very
classy.
Nice. Well done.
Linda says, here's my tree. White lights and filled with baubles from around the world. Wherever we go, we buy a bauble.
I like that idea too.
Yeah, full of memories from Elvis in Memphis to the Pope in the Vatican. Lots of European and American baubles too. Beautiful.
I like that. Every bauble means something. Then Robert sent in a picture of his Christmas toilet. Oh,
which
it's
is
nice.
sort of sweet.
I think that's fun.
Very nice. Ginny in Milton Keynes says, good morning. My little front room is beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
It really is. I'm surprised you can move around, actually.
Oh, that's
There's
gorgeous.
an awful lot there. And Susan, yes, Susan said, we had to put ours up because we emptied a storage unit and there's no room to put this anywhere except the kitchen.
Oh, there you go. Very nice too. Keep your pictures coming through, gbviews@gbnews.uk. We've got all the headlines and we'll tell you more about cyber scammers after the weather.
Good morning, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office. A bright and breezy Friday out there today. Sunny spells for most, and not much in the way of rain. We certainly had a lot of wet and windy weather over the past 48 hours from a couple of weather fronts in this low pressure system. But here, this little bump in the isobars is what we call a little ridge, and that will bring, as I say, most of us a fine day. Not everywhere. Still in the west, there are a few showers feeding in parts of South Wales, southwest England this morning, northwest England too, and we'll keep showers going over the Highlands and the Western Isles through the day. Some will just get through the central belt and perhaps into parts of Aberdeenshire, but I say for many it will be dry and bright with some decent spells of sunshine. Still a bit breezy, but nothing like as lively as the winds have been. And temperatures responding to a bit of sunshine, double figures almost across the board. Maybe only 8 or 9 in the eastern parts of Scotland, but in the south we could see highs of 13 Celsius, pretty mild for the time of year. It will turn quite cold quite quickly this evening if you're heading out. Most places will be dry. Still the odd shower for West Wales, northwest England, but I say most places will be dry. Some wet weather will keep going across the far north of Scotland. With those lighter winds and clearer skies, it will turn quite chilly with frost in certainly rural areas over the Midlands and eastern England to start the weekend. Further west, though, the breeze will be picking up and the next weather system will be on the way, bringing rain to Northern Ireland initially on Saturday morning, but it will spread to parts of western Scotland and by lunchtime into parts of Wales and western England too. I suspect much of the Midlands, eastern England, some parts of Aberdeenshire won't see any rain until quite late in the day, and much of East Anglia and the southeast will stay dry, certainly until after sunset. It will be turning windy though during tomorrow, the wind's steadily picking up. But it is going to bring mild air with it, so temperatures in the teens, as they could be on Sunday. There could also be some stubborn rain across East Anglia and the southeast on Sunday. Some question marks about that, but elsewhere looking a little brighter.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even some ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
It's Black Friday, the sales are on, but so are the scams.
Good morning, 7 o'clock, Friday the 25th of November. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
That makes it exactly a month.
That's just what I was thinking.
Exactly, it is really, isn't it? We're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio. Wherever you are, you can take us with you. So here are the top stories you need to know about today.
Well, Black Friday, of course, one of the biggest shopping days of the year, but also a prime opportunity for cyber criminals. We'll bring you tips and advice on how to keep your money safe.
And today, both England and Wales are in World Cup action. We're live in Qatar, or is it Qatar, and Cardiff, as the excitement builds on another busy day, whilst Brazil proved why they're favourites with an impressive win apparently against Serbia.
And we'll bring you the results from the latest GB News People's Poll. A whole host of different questions actually this week, so find out how you voted. We'll bring you all the details.
And as ever, you can join in any of our discussions. Take a photo of your Christmas tree or your Christmas decorations. Send it to us, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Is it Qatar or Qatar?
Qatar.
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 So the emphasis is on the first bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, OK. I keep wanting to say Qatar, and I know
Qatar.
that's not right.
I know, it sounds like you've got a bad cough,
Exactly.
doesn't it? Yes, Qatar. But there you go. I don't know why I know that, but there you go. Anyway, talking of the World Cup, England and Wales back in action today. Matches against the US and Iran, respectively. Wales kicking off at 10 o'clock our time against Iran, hoping to avoid a slow start like last time.
And England then play this evening at 7 our time, where a win would see them qualify for the last 16.
Well, Paul Hawkins is in Qatar, at a souk, actually, in Qatar, with all the very latest. Well, on to you, Paul. It looks nice and busy behind you. I mean, what's this? Is there an anticipation building up amongst the Wales and the England fans today?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a little bit more apprehension with the England fans, a bit more anticipation with the Welsh fans, given the quality of the opposition. Yeah, we're in the Souk Waqif at the moment, which is like the main market in Doha. And as you can see, if we just have a look over here, Iran fans gathering over there. There's a couple of Dutch fans over there because the Netherlands are playing later today. There's a couple of Welsh fans over here. But this area where I'm standing now, the Corner Cafe, it's become the unofficial meeting point for loads of Welsh fans, as you can see. In fact, the guys over in the corner, instead of having beers, they're having ice creams at the moment. Let's chat to a couple of Welsh fans now. Guys, how are you feeling today about the game?
Quite nervous, really. I think it's a must-win. I just hope they play like they did second half against the USA. I think he's got to go with two up front. So I think as long as Kiefer Moore starts and Bale up top, I think they'll win the game.
Yeah. What about Joe Allen? Joe Allen's fit now, but not match fit. Should you start with him?
Personally, I'd play the stronger side. It's imperative they win today just to keep it going, and you've got to play to their strengths. You know, Wales are probably have certain players that they have to use. We've got such a small pool of talent in terms of the size of the country, and I think we've got to do what's best for us to take each game as it comes. I don't think we've got the luxury of keeping people for later on, to be quite frank.
Yeah, and Gareth Bale, he's going to become Wales' most capped player. He's quite good at football, isn't he?
He is pretty good at football, yeah.
As long as you have a couple of penalties and to take again today, we'd be fine. Yeah.
But should we be worried about Iran?
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this level, you're always worried, and I think you just have to take, like I say, each game as it comes, you know, and just do the best. I mean, for us, you know, like I say, we're quite optimistic. We're sort of, you know, you've got to be sometimes, but we're realistic as well. You know, we're just so glad to be here, and you know, we're in a fantastic time. The water's flowing. Happy birthday! It's nice to birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you. And you know, we're having a great time. We're actually in Dubai. We aren't coming in for the games, so we're just having a fantastic occasion. And
it's going to be difficult to sing, though, isn't it? It's quite hot.
Well, should we sing anywhere?
Are you sure?
Yeah, we can sing anywhere. We're going to sing. Viva Gareth Bale, Viva Gareth Bale, steady out of my back, can't say any more than that. Viva Gareth Bale.
Great, all right, lads. Good luck for later. Score prediction, is anyone?
1-0. 1-0. I think 2-0 Wills. 3-1.
3-1 somewhere.
2-0.
2-1.
2-1. Okay, so everyone go for a Welsh win then. Great. All right. Good luck. Cheers, guys. Let's have a talk to some England fans as well, because England are playing later. 10 o'clock kickoff against the USA. Guys, how are you feeling?
Exciting. We're going to do the Welsh a favour.
Yeah.
We're going to beat the USA. We'll give them a 4-goal, hopefully a 4-1, a 3-1, something like that.
Yeah.
But we're excited. We're residents here in Qatar, so
you are?
yeah. So we love it here. A lot of the media coverage has been. It's a shame because it's stopped a lot of genuine football fans from coming and enjoying an amazing tournament. And
just expand on that a little bit for us. The media coverage about Qatar. You're saying?
Yeah. Look, we've seen all the headlines back home. You know, £80 a pint, all of this sort of stuff. You know. The Red Lion, it's selling beer at £6.70 a pint. So all the misrepresentation, all of the problems over the years, you know, Qatar's moved on progressively, probably more than many other countries in the world over the last 10 years. You know, what they've done, you know, I'm sure there's no smoke without fire in certain areas, but, you know, Qatar, you know, the people, you find an expat here, certainly a British expat, that isn't happy here, that doesn't find it one of the safest countries in the world. You know, there's zero knife crime, zero gun culture, zero drug culture, you know, all these things, and we don't pay tax. So it's an amazing place to live. It's the most exciting time now. We normally come to this cafe. In fact, this table that our Welsh friends are sat on is our table on a Friday morning for a coffee first thing. We're happy for these guys to have it. And back to the football, you know, we hope both England and Wales can qualify out the group.
Yeah, I can see your T-shirt. You work in the Red Lion, or you run
part of the management team.
Yeah, what's it like? What's it like running an alcoholic establishment in a country like this?
It's not a problem. You know, we're busy at the moment, of course. You know, people are queuing an hour and a half to get in, but we're busy very busy 4 nights a week, and comfortably busy the other 3 nights a week. So it's not like it's something new in terms of selling alcohol. Yes, there's licences and practices we have to adhere to. Which we do, you know, we're dealing with everything as we should, and that's why, you know, we could hold 400 people. We maximise at 320. You know, we keep our numbers sensible. We don't want any problems. We never have any problems. We've had every nationality, all 32 teams have been represented so far in the Red Lion. It's a happy place to be, even when people are drinking. We're not experiencing any trouble, and people are waiting their turn to get in and then enjoying themselves when they do get in.
But it's going to be bouncing later. Just bringing it back to the football, how are you feeling about the USA? Young, inexperienced side, but more of a challenge for England.
Yeah, for sure, more than Iran, although Iran are ranked 20th in the world and we comfortably dealt with them. But USA, yeah, you know, you could never be too... I'm a Spurs fan, so I never get too excited, okay? Let's bear that in mind. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say England should do the job and get qualified today, and I feel reasonably confident about that. But you know, we can't underestimate the US. They're bound to come out and give us a decent game.
Yeah, because if anything's shown you've got to be aware of the underdog.
Yeah, exactly, always, and exactly as a Spurs fan, always aware of that. You know, we're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. You know, so I would hope that we can get qualification today. Then we'll go into the Wales game. We can give a few other players a bit of a game there as well, because we're already qualified. But yeah, England need to gain momentum in these games now, like we did in the Euros, and hopefully that will take us through to the final and see Harry Kane lift the World Cup.
Yeah, and as a Spurs fan, you must have been happy watching Richarlison last night.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we know he's a class player. Everyone's doubted why we paid 60 million for him. I think that's a sign of it. We just want him to do it at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for speaking to us. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Richarlison, a Brazilian player, scored an incredible goal for Brazil last night. They kicked off their World Cup campaign, beating Serbia 2-0. In terms of England and Wales, the fans here, you don't need alcohol to have a good time, clearly.
It's really interesting, actually. Fascinating. And I can't get over the fact that you are there live on a lovely, wonderfully warm, sunny day. And back here in Britain, it's really cold and wet and miserable and windy and rainy. And yet we can just cross live to you like that and to meet those lovely folk there behind you. It's absolutely brilliant. Paul, thank you so much. Real flavour of, just being able to... Don't you find that? I feel very old-fashioned saying it.
Oh, no,
Sometimes
it's
it
right.
knocks you out that technology means that you can just go live.
Oh, that's amazing. I tell you what is interesting, though, that fella who lives over there saying, it's a great place to live, it's all calm, there's all the... Well, but you can't get away from the, it's all well living there, presumably he's heterosexual.
Well, I was going to say not if you're gay.
And not having any, any human rights issues or anything else. I mean, there are very real issues with Qatar. Mm. If he's been able to settle in there and all's fine, then, good for him.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of very real concerns about the place.
There really are. However,
anyway,
it is quite
matter.
A day as far as the football is concerned. And I think as well, it's about morale. It's about the country's morale. It would be nice to do well today, wouldn't it? So we've got England playing much later this evening, our time, 7 o'clock. But at 10 o'clock this morning, of course, Wales and their big game. So shall we cross live to Cardiff, where it probably is wet and windy as well? And there's our reporter, Ellie Costello. Morning, Ellie. Hi. But I'll bet you people are very excited and proud at the moment there in Cardiff.
Yes, good morning to you, Stephen, and good morning to you, Anne. Well, I'd love to say that I was also surrounded by Welsh fans this morning, but it does seem at this point like we're the only people in Cardiff that are actually awake. The streets are deserted. There are a few dog walkers out and a few commuters. I was hoping we'd see some football fans who are perhaps getting on the beers early, but that's not the case. I think instead they're probably getting their rest in, getting their sleep in, ready for all that energy they're going to need in just under 3 hours' time for that kick-off against Iran at 10 o'clock this morning. But last night we drove into Cardiff. We stood right underneath the castle here, and these castle walls were glowing in the most wonderful red light, and the players' faces were actually projected onto the side of the castle. It was the most magnificent sight welcoming us to Cardiff, and I'm sure once the castle wakes up in a few hours' time we're going to see the same sort of scenes again. But it just shows the pride that the Welsh people have in their home country team. This is the first time that they've been in a World Cup in 64 years, and today could be a history-making match if they win, the first win in a World Cup in 64 years. And just to put that into context for you, that means that if you're under retirement age in this country, you have never seen, a little bit of sport there, you have never seen your home country play in a World Cup. So there is going to be so much anticipation. We were actually trying to book a venue to go and watch the game a little bit later on. Many of them are completely sold out. There are pictures of Gareth Bale in the shops and in the windows here. There's so much pride for him, a real national hero, and today he's going to become the country's most capped player. So many Welsh people here feeling as though it should be a win today. They're hoping they're going to see similar scenes that we saw with England against Iran, where we thrashed them 6-2. Lots of hope for that, but the rankings may suggest it could be tighter than that. Iran currently ranked 20th in the world, Wales ranked 19th. It could be tighter than we think, but we'll be bringing you all of the build-up all of this morning on GB News.
Yeah, it is a bit wet and windy there, but I love Cardiff. Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, but have you noticed Ellie Costello saying, I was expecting to see them on the beers early. Not everyone's like you, Ellie.
Don't say that.
I'd be on the gins.
Well, there you go, you see.
There's some good wine bars, very good wine bars in Cardiff. That's where I did my training at Cardiff, and I love it. I had digs in St Gennydd Road, which is just a bit further up from where you are at the moment, Ellie. But yeah, wonderful wine bars just under the castle walls there. We had a wonderful time.
You see the priorities. There you go. I think you and Ellie are cut from the same cloth.
It's a real university town as well.
We
so
are.
Lots and lots of young people, lots of great things to do.
Ellie, go and get yourself another gin. We'll catch up with you later. Oh, bless her. I might have known you'd know all the wine bars.
Oh, yeah, it was wonderful.
I've never been to Cardiff.
Have you not?
No.
It's like I say. I suppose if you're not there for any particular reason, you wouldn't get stuck into the nightlife and everything. But when we were there, we had a wonderful time.
Oh, there you go. If you've got any memories of Cardiff, good or bad? No, good, actually. Ones you can remember. Slightly hazy.
It's where I first learned about sweet corn relish. Isn't it funny how you think of
sweet corn relish?
Yeah, because there was this fantastic burger bar, and you have to remember this is like a long time ago when a burger bar was quite a
thing,
American thing, really. In fact, I think it had an American name, and so they would serve you your burger and chips and all the rest of it, and then they would bring one of these enormous things of relishes, all sorts of different relishes, and I used to polish off the sweet corn relish every time. Loved it.
Oh, that sounds very nice, actually.
Tried making my own. It's really difficult to make sweet corn relish. But it makes a burger, is what I'm telling you.
There you go. Look out for that in the shops. You might get some in a Black Friday deal. You never know. OK, let's bring you up to date with some of the other top stories this morning at 7:50.
And NHS nurses are going to hold their first ever national strike action next month after accusing ministers of refusing to negotiate. The Royal College of Nursing says the government turned down its offer of formal talks as an alternative to industrial action. So nurses in England, Wales and Northern Ireland are apparently going to walk out for 2 days. That's on the 15th and the 20th of December.
The Prime Minister could crack down on foreign students who bring a dependent and...
it's what they call low-quality degrees, isn't it?
Yes, low quality. What that means, I don't know.
No, especially as we're seeing Oxford University.
Yes, anyway, the ONS figures show that just over 500,000 more people moved to the UK than left in the year to June, highest level since World War II.
And the Deputy Prime Minister has rejected claims that he broke the ministerial code by bullying civil servants during his tenure as Foreign Secretary and Justice Secretary. Dominic Raab is facing new allegations now that he used his personal email and iPhone to intimidate staff. The Prime Minister has already appointed a senior employment lawyer to investigate.
Twitter's boss says he'll reinstate the suspended accounts of users who haven't broken the law. Elon Musk published a poll online asking Twitter users whether they felt the accounts of those who hadn't done anything wrong should be allowed back onto the platform, and 74% voted yes. It's funny, Elon Musk does everything by Twitter poll now.
Yes, I know.
Should I fire more people, yes or no?
What a weird thing to do.
It's very odd.
He's coming over very strange, isn't he? I mean, maybe he's obviously made his millions by making the right decisions in the past. But it just feels that at the moment with Twitter, he's making all the wrong decisions.
Well, people who are extremely successful are not necessarily people you'd want to hang about with.
No.
If you know what I mean. You know, they're a bit...
He's a very odd person, isn't he?
Well, but you see, he's also inspirational in terms of what he's done with SpaceX and Tesla. You know, they're prepared to push the boundaries more than the rest of us, which is how we make progress. But I don't know.
I'm not sure about making business decisions by polling people who are on Twitter.
No.
Is the right thing to do somehow.
No.
But I suppose he feels it gives him immediate access to a vast number of opinions. So maybe he's got a point.
Maybe. Let us know what you think. Now, it is Black Friday today, and about 115,000 postal workers have been on another 48-hour strike, and there is more to come in the next few weeks.
And, of course, that's going to get complicated because if you send items the day before, during or immediately after the strike dates, they are likely to be delayed.
Well, let's talk to the General Secretary of the Communication Workers Union, Dave Ward. Morning, Dave. It's nice to see you again.
Good morning.
Are you going to achieve anything through this, do you think?
Well, I mean, we need to put the context of this dispute to your viewers this morning. I mean, only 18 months ago, postal workers were hailed as key workers in this country. They visited 32 million addresses every day during the pandemic, connected the country, looked after people, was often the only point of contact with people. 18 months on, they are facing the most brutal attack on jobs that this country has seen in decades. We're talking here about not the 10,000 jobs that the company announced just a few weeks back. They're not willing to admit the real number. We believe it's closer to 25,000 jobs, given that we've seen their plans. And I'll say to you today that at the same time as they are sacking postal workers, they also want us to agree that self-employed workers come in and replace those postal workers' jobs, and new entrants coming in as well, a mixture of both, on 20% less pay terms and conditions. Unfortunately, there is no way we can accept that. And with the service, we want to be absolutely clear to your viewers as well. They are talking about destroying the Royal Mail as we know it today. They want to turn Royal Mail into just another parcel courier, and we're not going to accept that. This is an important part of the UK's infrastructure. We believe the public will support this dispute and continue to support it because they know what's at stake. So, you know, that's the background. We don't want to be on strike. We want to reach an agreement. But we're in this situation because of gross mismanagement of the CEO and the board of Royal Mail. And we need a government inquiry now to look into the actions of the board.
Isn't your biggest problem the fact that no matter how justified you are in taking strike action, that you are part of a bigger picture now? There are so many other unions going on strike that you talk about public support. That's going to dissipate, isn't it? That's going to wane, even for you, even if people have got a lot of sympathy for you, because there's just too many strikes at the moment. We feel we're being inundated.
I understand, Anne, what you're saying, but look, you know, we have to focus on our dispute at the moment. We support all other workers who are taking strike action because I think the country's lost its way in terms of how it treats workers. I mean, I heard the piece on your news coverage earlier on about nurses. I've got a daughter who's a midwife. She'll be taking strike action because, you know, the treatment of workers today in the UK cannot continue in this way. You cannot continue to allow these type of business leaders, in the case of Royal Mail, just a handful of people at the top of the business who are involved in boardroom power struggles. The company's about to be taken over by a private equity investment group based in Luxembourg. This is a fantastic, you know, one of the greatest UK companies that's got a fantastic history and can have a successful future. But we're not going to let it go down the pan in this way. We're going to stand up and continue to fight for our members' jobs, and we're going to hope that the public will continue to support us. What we will be doing is getting our members to talk to the public, and I'm sure once we do that, they will understand why we're on strike.
I do think that you'll have a lot of support, and I think you've had a lot of support. I mean, because we do have a relationship with our postmen and women, you know, those on the front line, if you like, more than we do with other areas that are striking, I think. But you do wonder if, and it's not necessarily through the action of your members, but through perhaps what you say about what's going on in the boardrooms, whether this company is just being run into the ground, in a sense, because it's not going to take much for a company like Amazon or somebody else to come in and bring in an alternative system, is it? I mean, it's where we are at the moment.
Look, what you've just said there is exactly what's going on. This is an asset stripping agenda, a levelling down agenda of workers' jobs, terms and conditions, and the end of a great public service in the UK. And, you know, you can't carry on and just let these people get away with this. What are we supposed to do? And it is down to exactly what you said. A handful of people between them have probably not got more than about 10 years experience in Royal Mail, and I'm being generous there. And we know that they're in collusion with other shareholders. There's power struggles going on here as to who owns Royal Mail. They haven't got a plan for the future. Do you know one of the things they're asking us to sign up to and our members to sign up to that is a barrier in reaching an agreement in this dispute? They want us to sign up that postal deliveries, postal workers will start 3 hours later. Now, there's no way that any company that's in the game of delivering to people up and down the country, 32 million addresses, would actually start later in order to improve the service. It is just crazy stuff what's going on. And it's all about money, and it's all about those people at the top, when it should be about decent, hard-working postal workers.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we'll have to leave it there, but I tell you what, it's heartbreaking, as Stephen was saying, that we all sort of feel we have a personal relationship, I think, with our local postie, don't we? And then you're saying your daughter is a midwife and she's going to go on strike. And, of course, nothing could be more important than a midwife when you need one. And I don't know, it breaks your heart.
Who was on strike yesterday, who was a teacher, Anne. But look, they should be leveraging the competitive advantage that Royal Mail has. If you actually had some decent people running this business, and if we had, I believe postal workers could run this business better than the current CEO and the board. You would be leveraging the fact with new products, new services, you'd really look at what's going on in the economy, and you would be saying to yourself, if we're delivering to 32 million addresses a day, surely we can make a success of this business and modernise it properly. We're not against modernisation. What we're against is the destruction of our members' jobs and the services that they provide to the public.
Yeah. Dave, really good to talk to you this morning. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I just think
it's heartbreaking.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you hear a lot of stuff about strikes. So you're saying it all gets a bit diluted in a way, and sometimes you just get infuriated by it. I think with that, for some reason, and when he makes his points very clearly, you just think, yeah, they've got a point there.
And we need our Royal Mail service, don't we? We do. We need our letters to be delivered into our front doors, don't we?
There'll be other ways of doing it. This is the problem. Other companies will be chomping at the bit to take competition. I mean, it's a heck of an infrastructure.
But it's the Royal Mail. It's got to stay. It's got to stay as our postal service. Surely it's got to.
Well, it's a private company now, isn't it?
I know. Maybe, well, I was just going to say maybe it should never have been privatised. But
well, maybe not. It's dished out £1.9 billion to shareholders since it was privatised, according to the front of the Mirror. They're calling it a first-class disgrace this morning, looking at the guy who effectively owns it, or one of the top shareholder, who's 47 years old.
Wow. 32 million front doors they deliver to.
That's a lot.
And do you remember when we used to get a service twice a day? Do you remember? You used to get an early post and a later post.
Oh, that's gone.
Used to get at weekends. Yes, it's all going. It is gradually being pared back. Yeah, which is a shame.
If you've got a thought on that, love to hear from you. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Coming up, we'll bring you all the latest results from the GB News People's Poll.
We are GB News, the People's Channel. Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
It's 7:30, bang on the nose, as it were. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
How much water do you drink every day?
Just water,
Yeah.
none.
No, I'm the same.
None, but I do drink lots of things with water in,
The
obviously.
standard advice is to drink, you should be drinking 2 litres a day. That's what they say. And now there's a new report out by some big deal university in America that says actually it should be more like 6 to 10 litres of water
Oh, you'd be
a
forever
day.
going for a wee.
Well, you'd never be able to sit down and relax,
But you
would
see, cups of tea, coffee, fruit tea you're having.
Yeah.
I drink a lot of sort of like sugar-free pops and things. I mean, that's all water.
Yes, yeah.
So it all adds up, but...
6 to 10 litres of water a day?
Ooh, you'd be up half the night with that.
And all day.
Anyway,
Much of a life,
that's
isn't
a
it?
talking point for you.
It is, yes, exactly.
GBviews at gbnews.uk. Now, if you've got time to email us in between going for a wee. Now, when it comes to filling the gaps in Britain's economy, people, it seems, are agreeing with Sir Keir Starmer.
It's happening more and more, isn't it? That is according to our GB News People's Poll.
Yes, when asked who you want to fill the gaps in the economy, 60% want the government to prioritise training British workers, only 9% favour using immigration.
And when voters are asked whether they'd support changing Britain's current relationship with the EU to a Swiss-style relationship, only 32% people said they would support that, falling to 15% amongst Conservatives and 13% amongst people who voted for Brexit.
Do we think we should abolish the House of Lords and replace it with an elected chamber? Very eclectic questions this week. They do, according to our poll. 46% support this, only 8% oppose it. I'd oppose that.
Yeah.
I'd oppose that. I think the House of Lords should be a place of experts to review
I think
and not...
it works pretty well.
I think it works
I mean,
pretty
time and again we see the House of Lords putting a brake on...
Stuff.
Yeah, and you think, no, it's because they're older and wiser, maybe. Not all of them, but most.
Anyway, let's speak to academic and professor of politics, Matt Goodwin, who joins us now. Matt, good morning to you. I tell you what, we both find it, I think, speak on Anne's behalf, we both think it's very interesting that when it comes to filling the job gap with British workers or immigrants, it's very interesting that this is exactly what Keir Starmer's peddling at the moment.
Well, it was a really important speech by Keir Starmer. Of course, his big challenge is winning back that red wall and trying to outflank the Conservatives. And I think actually, Stephen, this question gets at the heart of British politics right now. If you think about that Brexit referendum, what was it really all about? It was about trying to change the political economy of Britain, trying to say as a country we should be less dependent upon large-scale immigration to support our economy, and we should invest much more in domestic British workers, in training them and educating them. And to be fair to Boris Johnson, he began to flesh that out, the adult skills agenda, the apprenticeships, all that kind of stuff. But now it just seems to have run a bit out of steam. And that's why I think Keir Starmer stepped into this gap and has said, look, the answer to Britain's economy is not ongoing large-scale migration, it's to invest in British workers. Now, if Labour follow through on that in terms of policy and whatnot when they're in government, then I think that's a great thing. Whether voters believe Starmer and Labour, that's another thing altogether. But underlying it is this principle, Stephen, that actually people want more effort, more energy being devoted to British workers and less effort, less energy being devoted to increasing immigration to what we saw this week, those record levels in the post-war era.
The trouble is, though, that those jobs that we're talking about, and we all know more or less what they are, the lower grade jobs, I suppose you could call them, the cleaners and things like that, all those jobs are available and there are a lot of people without work, but the Brits don't seem to want to do those jobs.
Well, we have a few things going on in our economy. One is a very large number of people who are economically inactive. We have a large number of people who are currently relying on the state for support. I think we need a much more mature conversation in this country about how we're going to encourage people to come back into the labour market and the workforce. And I don't think anybody in politics right now is saying, let's have zero immigration. I think what the problem is today is that Boris Johnson came in saying, let's have a points-based system, let's have control. I think many voters interpreted that as let's have a little bit less immigration, but let's have that high-skilled immigration or immigration that plugs the holes in the economy, in the NHS, in social care, in all of those key industries. Instead, actually, what we've got is something very different, which is just very high overall levels of migration, which we saw this week, 1.1 million people over the last year. And the salary threshold for coming in actually is not really about high-skilled jobs anymore. It's 22 grand, 25 grand. And that's why I think we're now seeing these very rapidly rising levels of concern in the country about that issue. So I think this is going to be a real cause for concern for Rishi Sunak and the Conservatives. Conservative voters, as you've just shown, are the most disillusioned on this question, the most likely to say, look, I want to invest in British workers. I don't want to keep investing in high migration. And this is going to, at some point, have to be resolved one way or the other.
I just think it's absolutely fascinating that on this, as you say, this is a key issue for so many people, and it's a key issue because it's affecting daily life for a lot of people and daily life for a lot of small communities, especially with migrants in hotels and all this sort of thing. And it seems very much like Keir Starmer is pulling the rug out from under the Conservative government on this issue, which, as you say, should be a more of a Conservative safe area.
Well, Stephen, you'll remember Tony Blair's infamous speech, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. I certainly remember that. And what was Labour doing there? Labour were basically keeping on side Britain's workers, Britain's mechanics, electricians, plumbers, all of the people that keep the country ticking over, who on the economy are often closer to Labour, but on culture are often closer to the Conservatives. And what Blair did quite masterfully at the end of the 1990s was give those people a reason for staying with Labour. And of course, the result was that long era of New Labour dominance. What Starmer is doing this week with the big pitch on migration and British workers is he's trying to do essentially the modern equivalent of that. He's trying to take that red wall with him while also taking London and the university towns and university graduates and the rest of it. And so as a result, that's why we're seeing this week in the poll, Labour still on a 20-point lead in the national polls. What does that mean? It means if there were an election tomorrow, you're looking at a Labour majority of around 200, and you're looking, remarkably, at there being only around 100 Conservatives in the House of Commons. So we are heading into something that could be, and I emphasise could, polls change, but it could be unprecedented in British history.
Absolutely amazing. Matt, thank you very much indeed for taking us through that. It's interesting because it traditionally as well, not only is it traditionally something that Tories are always interested in, migration and jobs, but it's also it's so high on everybody's agenda at the moment, isn't it?
Because it just seems like we're hitting an absolute breaking point at the moment.
Sam says, during COVID,
this is interesting.
I was forced to temporarily close my business and I really needed to bring in a wage. I applied for a job at my local supermarket, but the only job they had left was cleaner. I accepted the job, closed my business down, and 2.5 years later, I'm now on placement as a store manager. I don't think it's all about the pay. It's more that people just don't want to work.
I think there is a culture of people and families, really, where, I mean, I know from friends of mine who work in the NHS who, you know, say, you know, they're in contact with families who haven't worked for generations. And it's breaking that. Mind you, getting people into the country, I mean, I don't know how. See, I don't know how it works. I've never had to deal with it. Phil says, I'm a pensioner and a British citizen and have tried for 5 years to get my wife a visa, which is always declined because I have no income. We've been married for 28 years. I'm now disabled and need constant medical care. What can we do? I mean, why is that? I don't understand. Why can she not? Been married for nearly 30 years. Surely she should be allowed.
Believe if you're married, you can send for your husband or wife.
Well, I thought that was the case, but
yes,
maybe that's changed. Must have changed. Maybe it depends. Well, maybe.
I don't know. It seems crazy, but certainly I know that the figures that have just been released that we were talking about in the newspaper review of so many migrants in this country, legal migrants who've been allowed to come here and stay, is just overwhelming the rest of the jobs market, isn't it? And there are Brits who need a job, and there are jobs that need workers, and yet the two aren't marrying up.
No.
And there has to be something done about that. And maybe, is it to improve the pay of those so-called lower grade jobs?
Or just want to work, get in like Sam has, and work your way up.
Well,
I mean, that doesn't apply to everybody.
My mum, if I'd been living at home and as an adult and had no money coming in, my mum would have said, take any job.
Yeah.
Go and do it.
Yeah. No, well, mine would have been exactly the same. Just go out and work.
Yeah.
And then keep looking for other stuff while you're working.
And if you've got gumption, you work your way up the ladder anyway, don't you?
Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think. gbviews@gbnews.uk. We've got more to come, including the papers.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you know, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narinda.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky. That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak. Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here. You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Now, nurses across the country, apart from Scotland, are going to strike for 2 days in December. It's going to be their biggest walkout in the NHS's history.
And, of course, this comes after government ministers apparently declined the RCN's formal offer of negotiations regarding pay and unsafe staffing levels.
Well, let's talk to Alice Porter, who's outside the Royal College of Nursing in central London. Morning to you, Alice. I mean, look, what are they saying about this strike action? Because you can't imagine they actually want to take it.
Yeah, good morning to you. Well, yes, the Royal College of Nursing say this industrial action is taking place because the government, they claim, refused to sit down and negotiate with them. That's why we're having strikes taking place in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, not in Scotland, because negotiations are still ongoing. But it's incredibly significant because we have never had nurses go on strike before. So, of course, it's going to have an enormous impact on patients across the country. Now, we knew 2 weeks ago that the nurses were going to be going on strike. We've now got the dates, and they are the 15th and 20th of December. And I suppose the real concern there is, of course, that is very much in the run-up to Christmas, when already there are severe winter pressures on the NHS. We know that emergency care will be staffed, but we don't know yet until next week which areas of the NHS will be particularly hit. And this is all because of an ongoing dispute with the government over pay, as so many of these strikes are. The government gave nurses a 4.75% pay rise in the summer, a bit more for those who were on slightly lower incomes. But the RCN say that in real terms, for more experienced nurses, they're still suffering a 20% pay cut because of inflation. It's not just the RCN saying that, it's a number of economists as well. So that's very much their argument. And they're saying because of the situation with poor pay, so many members of staff are leaving. And they claim in the last year, 25,000 members of the Council for Midwives and Nurse left the council register, and so they're saying they're very much making the economic argument that the government needs to make continuing to plug the gaps in their workforce and with agency staff, and therefore shouldn't nurses simply be paid more money? That's very much their argument.
And of course, it's not just nurses, it's other healthcare workers as well who are thinking of striking.
That's right. Today, the ballot closes for Unison members. We've got Unite members for the NHS Unite members, which is the UK's largest health union. They're balloting next week. We've got physiotherapists, midwives, potentially junior doctors next year. The government say that they simply cannot pay nurses what they're asking for, which they say would come to £10 billion a year. But I think the real difficulty for the government is, of course, this is very emotive. Anything we have at the NHS is always very emotive, and it will put an enormous pressure on the government, particularly over the winter period.
For now, thanks very much indeed. Your thoughts on that would be very welcome this morning. gbviews@gbnews.uk.
And we've got a lot of views from people coming in saying they support the strikes, that it's not like it was in the 70s, it's different now, and now's the time to actually support the strikers. So how do you feel about it? Do let us know.
In the meantime, let's have a quick rattle through the papers this morning with former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Redrop, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Morning, you two. Oscar, let's have a look at the Star to start with, and bunk off Friday.
After hearing a whole segment on strikes, it feels awful to start talking about a story where a lot of workers and office workers today are said to be pouring out of work a lot early to go watch the World Cup. It feels a bit kind of... It doesn't sit well. But serious point on it is, I think that the politics of this World Cup, I think in some ways has quite rightly dominated the headlines. And I think we're starting to see the slight kind of World Cup fever, the joy that, you know, national sport can bring to people. I think we've had it very, very tough. You know, you just flick through the headlines, as I'm sure we'll do very shortly, and it's tough news everywhere you look. And I think there is just something... I mean, for me personally, there is not a simple pleasure like it for me than probably getting out of work a little bit early, meeting up with my friends and watching England play. And I think it's been such a political World Cup. As I said, maybe quite rightly, actually, that we've had those discussions. But I think it'd be really nice now if we can kind of just get swept up in the joy of it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Hopefully.
I don't usually care that much about football, and I think the fact that it's in Qatar is reprehensible. Actually.
Yeah, it's wrong. It shouldn't be
but
there.
wouldn't it
Yeah.
be great if our teams did well, because it might give us a little bit of the feel-good factor, and my goodness, we need that.
Absolutely.
Yes, not a bad thing if that were to happen. No feel-good factor for Royal Mail workers, though, in the Mirror, Liz.
No, just on the feel-good factor, and I agree, and I think one of the qualities of leadership is that you motivate people and you bring some joy into their life and give them some inspiration and a reason to get up in the morning, and that's what's lacking in our politicians. It shouldn't be up to Harry Kane and the lads. We really haven't got any motivational leaders, I don't think. Anyway, Royal Mail. So I thought this weekend, because of these upcoming strikes, I'm going to sit down and write me Christmas cards. And then I thought...
old-fashioned, real
Christmas cards, because they're so nice to receive and they're so nice to keep. And I keep my cards for a year, and then when it's Christmas again, I bring them out. And then, sadly, you come across a card that's been written to you by somebody who's no longer alive. Right. And it's nice to keep the last card you got from your grandma or an old family friend or something. Anyway, so yeah, I'm still into cards. But I thought I'll cut down this year. I'm only going to send them to people I've actually had dealings with this year. And that was before I don't know how much stamps are. You just go in, don't you?
Oh.
Anyway, I'm absolutely shocked to find that a first-class stamp is now 95 pence.
Crumbs, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And a second-class stamp is 68p. So when you factor in the cost of the card and the stamp, you know, you're talking about a lot, like, you know, maybe 100 quid. Yeah. So there's a reason for this, isn't there? And that's because Royal Mail was privatised. When something belongs to the people, the state, then any excess over cost over income goes back into the pot and could possibly go to the workers. But when it's privatised, that's for a reason. It's because the people who've bought it want to cream money off. So you're always going to want the biggest margin possible. And they've now got a 95p first-class stamp. It was inevitable. It should never have been privatised. And it's competing with, it's supposed to be a treasured brand, and it's competing with all these companies coming into the country, Dutch, American, etc., competing for the business, which you could say was healthy, but...
Christine Leyland says the Royal Mail's being driven out of business by the unions. They've learned nothing from the coal industry.
Well, here's some figures then from the Mirror. The biggest shareholder in Royal Mail took is worth £3 billion, and last year £2 billion was paid to since privatisation, £2 billion has been paid to shareholders. That £2 billion would either not have been made because the prices would have been lower, or would have been enjoyed by the workforce or the state. So I just think it's really sad, and it's going to be the end, isn't it, of the Christmas card?
You're getting your excuses out of the way. So if you don't get a Christmas card
from Liz, yeah. Well,
she's telling you why now.
Can I just say hello to my friend Trixie in North Wales, who's a big fan of Oscars? I'd just like to say, Trixie, you won't be getting a card this year.
Oh, dear.
Will you still be sending me one?
It's already written. I've written all my cards. They're all written. I went to the post office.
Hopefully, made the cards.
It's not even December yet.
But I went to the post office and bought 50 first-class stamps.
Wow. Yeah.
That would have been
50 quid
or something.
It was 45 quid.
Yeah.
And he just, I mean...
I'll come. I think I'll hand deliver. I'll pop it through your box.
Oh, will you?
It's interesting, though. I mean, I find that the whole concept of the Royal Mail and feeling that it is still the Royal Mail, although it's... Sheila says it's heartbreaking to hear what's happening to Royal Mail. It is great to chat with your local postie. Is this a very British thing? Is it?
In America...
In lockdown, the only person that we saw in a day after day after day, weeks, months... we never saw the milkman because he came at 3 o'clock in the morning, but the post lady coming through the gate was our only respite from isolation.
Well, Patricia says, I support our postie. We've got 3 brilliant postmen locally. They're trustworthy and were so kind when I was ill. They know where to leave stuff when I'm not home. It's sad to see how they're being let down.
And as I said last week, our post lady does not want to strike.
Well, none of them do
But
they?
then I think being a postie in a village where you're pottering around and you know everybody is easier than a city centre.
Well, maybe. Look, we're out of time.
Oh, that's ridiculous, you.
I'm sorry.
We'll be in trouble if we just
We can't
carry
just
on
keep
regardless.
waffling on because you want us to, Liz Kershaw. But we will see you a little bit later on. Liz, Oscar, thank you very much indeed.
Ridiculous or not, do it, I'm afraid. So there's lots more to come. All your weather. We'll bring you the news headlines after this.
Good morning, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office. A bright and breezy Friday out there today. Sunny spells for most, and not much in the way of rain. We've certainly had a lot of wet and windy weather over the past 48 hours from a couple of weather fronts in this low pressure system. But here, this little bump in the isobars is what we call a little ridge, and that will bring, as I say, most of us a fine day. Not everywhere. Still in the west, there are a few showers feeding in parts of South Wales, Southwest England this morning, Northwest England too, and we'll keep showers going over the Highlands and the Western Isles through the day. Some will just get through the central belt and perhaps into parts of Aberdeenshire, but I say for many it will be dry and bright with some decent spells of sunshine. Still a bit breezy, but nothing like as lively as the winds have been. And temperatures responding to a bit of sunshine, double figures almost across the board. Maybe only 8 or 9 in the eastern parts of Scotland, but in the south we could see highs of 13 Celsius, pretty mild for the time of year. It will turn quite cold quite quickly this evening if you're heading out. Most places will be dry. Still the odd shower for West Wales, Northwest England, but I say most places will be dry. Some wet weather will keep going across the far north of Scotland. With those lighter winds and clearer skies, it will turn quite chilly with frost in certainly rural areas over the Midlands and eastern England to start the weekend. Further west, though, the breeze will be picking up and the next weather system will be on the way, bringing rain to Northern Ireland initially on Saturday morning, but it will spread to parts of western Scotland and by lunchtime into parts of Wales and western England too. I suspect much of the Midlands, eastern England, some parts of Aberdeenshire won't see any rain until quite late in the day, and much of East Anglia and the southeast will stay dry, certainly until after sunset. It will be turning windy though during tomorrow, the wind's steadily picking up. But it is going to bring mild air with it, so temperatures in the teens, as they could be on Sunday. There could also be some stubborn rain across East Anglia and the southeast on Sunday. Some question marks about that, but elsewhere looking a little brighter.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
On the Mark Stein Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Stein Show.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12, on TV, on radio and online.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me, noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
It's Black Friday. The sales are on, so are the scams.
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock on Friday, the 25th of November. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
As you know, we're live across the whole of the UK on your TV and your radio, worldwide online. So wherever you are, whatever you're up to, take us out and about with you this morning. Here are your top stories.
Well, it's Black Friday today, and it's one of the biggest shopping days of the year. Apparently, we've got the money. It's also, though, prime opportunity for cyber criminals. We'll bring you advice on how to avoid them.
Both England and Wales are in World Cup action later. We're live in Qatar and Cardiff as the excitement builds on another busy day. Brazil proved why they're favourites with an impressive win against Serbia.
And we'll have the results from the latest GB News People's Poll. How did you vote? If you did, stay with us to find out.
As ever, we'd love to hear from you this morning about anything you want to talk about. Lots of you getting in touch on migration, lots getting in touch about Christmas and about postal strikes, all these sort of issues.
And about Cardiff as well.
Oh, lots of in Cardiff, yeah. So we'll go through a lot of those in a few minutes. And if you want to join in the conversation, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Well, as you can tell, we're going to kick off with the football because England and Wales back in action at the World Cup today. Matches against the US and Iran.
Yes, now the Wales kick-off is at 10 o'clock our time this morning against Iran. They're hoping to avoid a slow start, apparently like last time. And then England play this evening at 7 our time, where a win would actually see them qualify for the last 16.
Oh, well, let's talk to our reporter, Paul Hawkins, who's out in Qatar with the very latest. I mean, this would really be a moment of history for Wales, wouldn't it, Paul, if they win tonight? Or this morning, I should say.
Yeah, no, easy to get it confused, Stephen. Listen, it would be huge, historic. This is Wales' first World Cup since 1958. Still waiting for their first World Cup victory since 1958. And actually, we were talking to the Welsh fans earlier. We'll hear from them in just a moment. They were saying that for a lot of them, they cannot believe they're at a World Cup and that they're at a World Cup where Italy aren't. And the other thing is that Gareth Bale, you know, he's well into his 30s now. A lot of the best players in the Welsh team are getting on a little bit. It feels like this is the last time they'll be at a World Cup for some time, because those players will be too old for the next one, and then they've got to wait for the younger, really younger players to come through. So it feels like this is their one opportunity for some time for Wales. So the Welsh fans very excited. We'll hear from them in just a moment. But first of all, here's Rob Page on how they're feeling about the game against Iran, which kicks off in less than 2 hours.
Both teams want to go out and win. Iran are going to want to have a reaction from the disappointing defeat. I think they'll have looked at the fixtures and forecast where they can pick points up. England was a free game for him. And I think that's why the manager changed the shape throughout the success that he's had. I know he's only been back at a short time, but he plays a certain way, 4-3-3, like USA. And he changed it for that game, but I think that was purely just because it was England and the quality and depth that they've got. So I think we won't be too surprised in the formation he picks against us. And like you said, both teams they'll need to win, realistically, and we want to win. So it'll make for an entertaining game.
Yeah, so what Rob Page is saying there is, look, be wary of Iran. Thrash 6-2, they're going to have to respond. They can respond. They've got players that can hurt the Welsh side. This is what the Welsh fans have told us. They've now moved away from this area to get on the metro to make their way to the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. And this is what they've had to tell us about how they're feeling about the match this afternoon.
Been waiting for this since January. Kind of got my tickets before the war started, so I got them pretty cheap. Yeah. And I got FIFA lottery, so I got the tickets face value. So I've been excited for 11 months straight. So I think we have a pretty good chance. We have a couple of European players. So it's been very exciting. I've been really excited about the whole thing because my father is Persian, so I'm kind of rooting for Iran also.
Okay.
So I got two teams in the race, so it's been very exciting.
Very confident. I think we're going to win by a couple of goals.
Yeah. Your score prediction?
3-1 to Wales.
Should he start with Joe Allen, do you think? Even though Joe Allen's fit but not match fit, should he start with him?
No.
Best midfielder we got, in my opinion. 100%.
And what is there to say about Gareth? Go on, what are you going to say, sorry?
No, I just got to start him today. 3 points, this is the biggest game of the tournament for us, I think, personally. We get 3 points today, there's a very good chance we get through.
There you go. So that's what the Wales fans have been telling us. And before that, we heard from an American, because, of course, England are playing the USA later on. That's a 10 o'clock local time kickoff. It'll be much cooler. It should be that should make for a much more interesting match, a faster-paced match. The USA, young side, inexperienced side, but as the Welsh know all too well, they can hurt England. So, you know, England will be wary of that. It should still be a good game later on. That one kicks off at 10 o'clock local time.
OK, Paul, thank you very much indeed. Looking very busy behind you there, which is a positive sign, I guess, if you're a football fan.
Showing signs of the heat, I think.
Yes, it's going to be very warm there. Aidan McGee is here in the studio. Gareth Bale could become what Wales' most capped player today.
Yeah, that's right. So he's on 109. He needs to overtake his teammate, who's also in the squad, Chris Gunn, so he can go to 110 this evening. It just makes me realise all those years ago, I was reading, it was in the summer of 2006, I was heading down to Southampton to watch them play a pre-season friendly, a meaningless game against Panathinaikos of Greece. And in the Telegraph, there's about 3 paragraphs, one of the journalists had been asked who his tip for the future would be. And Gareth Bale, I keep an eye on him. I thought, I wonder if he's playing today. So I watched him. He was all right. He was OK. It's a sunny day. You know, sometimes you can say that's not too much of an impositional player when the weather's good. But 3 months later, Stephen, I went to Southend. These were the kind of salubrious places I was going at the time before I reached GBNews. And I was at Southend on a Saturday afternoon. They lost 2-1. He dominated the game. And you could see, even in those conditions, that there was a player in there. So it's no surprise to me that he's not just had a magnificent career playing for all these wonderful clubs, but he's also carried the weight of Wales's hopes, and they've really underpinned their success around him, really. And tonight will be a big night for him. It'll be wonderful for them if they can get through.
We'll I mean, it really would be something. Actually.
Yes, it would. My concern is that against Iran, it's almost two teams that don't want the ball. They're teams that like to sit off. They like to sit off their opponents. Now, the onus is going to be...
It's going to be a boring game to watch.
Well, not necessarily. That doesn't mean both will play that way. One of them will seize the initiative. They both need to win. One of them will seize the initiative and say, well, actually, if you don't want the ball, we'll have it. But possession isn't everything. You can have lots of possession and still lose the game these days. But it'll be a tactical battle. But I think that... I mean, it's a big thing back home as well, as we've heard from Ellie all morning back in Wales. Kids are being given a day off school as well to watch it.
So absolutely. If you're Welsh, it's quite a day for you.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah, it is. I mean, look, that the 9-year-old that Paul had on earlier on, I can't remember his name, but I mean, Rio, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, that's all he's known. I mean, he's not in terms of World Cups because it's been 64 years, but they did have a Euros 6 years ago. So he's used to Wales qualifying, whereas these generations, probably 2 or 3 generations before him, you have to be in your 70s to remember Wales qualifying for the World Cup.
So how does it work now? We're playing. What in tennis you call rubbers or something?
Yeah, no, in tennis you would call it rubbers. I've tended to call it rubbers in football actually as well because dead rubber means a match.
So if for instance England and Wales won today, what would they be doing next?
That puts they have to then play England going to the last game against Wales. So
England against Wales?
Yes, in the same group. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no!
But that's on Tuesday. Yeah, but if England are qualified, they may choose to rest players. There's all sorts of dynamics. The interesting thing about the third of the group games, the third group game, is that they all play together. They all play simultaneously. So that's so that no team can go into one game knowing what the other team has to do.
Oh, I see.
It's a thing that's been brought in over the last 20 years or so. So that would be a huge game. But if Wales win tonight, then also this morning, that puts them on 4 points. They may only need a point against England. They may not need a point at all against England, depending on other results. So that's when the permutations come in. But given a win tonight, a win this morning against Iran is a huge shot in the arm, and it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we shall see.
They'll be celebrating if they win tonight in the Lexington.
Oh, the Lexington.
The burger bar that I was talking about earlier in Cardiff, where we used to go. Diana in Ogmore by Sea, which is a wonderful sounding place.
This sounds very nice.
Diana said, I believe the burger bar Anne was referring to in Cardiff when she was a student was called the Lexington. I have fond memories of it too, and my friend was a waitress there. Isn't that amazing?
Still around?
Yeah. No, apparently, yes. And Thomas says, we've got to have a chinwag about Cardiff. Having undertaken my primary, secondary and university education in Cardiff, I have a lifelong bank of memories associated with it. However, I have to say my most prominent childhood memory involves Dad taking me to Cardiff Market to buy bowls full of cockles, drowned in Himalayan salt and vinegar, and then walking through the city centre together.
Cockles.
Cockles.
Oh, my mother likes cockles.
Cardiff cockles.
Oh, my mother likes cockles.
Never tried.
Sitting there with a pin, picking them out and all that.
No.
I mean, horrible.
Anyway, thanks for your memories of Cardiff. It's a smashing city, it really is.
Yes, I want to go to Ogmore by Sea.
Yes, it's in Wales.
In the Vale of Glamorgan, I think, isn't it?
Very pretty place, apparently.
Very nice.
It's literally a village on the seaside, which sounds wonderful.
We shall be there, Diana.
Take a picture of what you can see out of your window, Diana, and send it to us. I'd like to see it.
It is.
One more thing.
Oh, go on, go on.
Guess what's 70 today? 70th anniversary today. Or 70th birthday, if you like.
I don't know.
The Mousetrap.
Is it?
Agatha Christie play.
70 years.
Has now gone 70 years. The only thing that stopped it was lockdown. But after lockdown, after the pandemic, the audiences came right back. So it's been going for 70 years strong.
Is it in the same theatre? Has it always been in the same theatre? I don't know.
I don't know about that, but they're going to take it to Broadway now. Apparently, Agatha Christie said she didn't want it. She didn't want it to go to the United States. She didn't want it on Broadway. For some reason, she didn't think it would be right. But they are taking a version of it to Broadway now.
Oh, well,
That's
there you
quite
go.
amazing, isn't it? To have written a play she thought would probably not last much longer than a year, been in the same theatre for 70 years.
That is... I've never seen... Have you seen it?
I saw the first act.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just the first
act?
act?
I was doing this thing called breakfast television where you couldn't stay up late enough to watch the second act of anything.
You don't know who done it?
Yeah. I can't even remember what got done now, so I need to go. Should we go and see it? We'll go and see it
I'd
one
love
day.
to go and see
Love
it.
to go and see The Mousetrap.
I
love an Agatha Christie.
The Butler did it. I don't know if that's true or not.
I
think there's a
don't
butler
know.
in it, but there you go. If you do know who done it,
Don't
tell us. Do not email us.
The director says she does. No, don't want to know.
No, we don't want to know. It is 12 minutes past 8. Let's bring you up to date with the headlines. And NHS nurses are going to hold their first ever national strike next month. They've accused ministers of refusing to negotiate. The Royal College of Nursing says the government turned down its offer of formal talks as an alternative to industrial action. Nurses in England, Wales and Northern Ireland will walk out for 2 days. That's the 15th and 20th of December.
And the Prime Minister says that he wants fewer foreign students allowed into the UK following a post-war record rise in net immigration. Just over 500,000 more people moved to the UK than left in the year to June. Rishi Sunak's spokesman says the Prime Minister is fully committed to bringing overall immigration levels down.
The Deputy Prime Minister has rejected claims that he broke the ministerial code by bullying civil servants during his tenure as Foreign Secretary and Justice Secretary. Dominic Raab is facing new allegations he used his personal email and phone to intimidate staff. The Prime Minister has already appointed a senior employment lawyer to investigate 2 formal complaints.
And fixing England's motorways and major roads will cost billions of pounds more than planned. The National Audit Office says delays and inflation will prevent national highways from delivering projects within budget, and it warns upgrades and repairs are going to cost an estimated £3.3 billion more to complete. Sometimes you think the news just gets worse and worse.
I know. Well, from filling in the gaps in the roads to filling the gaps in Britain's economy, people, it would seem, by people we mean you, tend to agree with Sir Keir Starmer. That's according to the latest GB News People's poll.
Yes, when asked who you want to fill in the gaps in the economy, 60% of people want the government to prioritise training British workers, whilst only 9% favour immigration plugging that hole.
Now, when voters are asked whether they'd support changing Britain's current relationship with the EU to a Swiss-style relationship, that came up about a week ago, didn't it? 32% of voters say they would support it, falling to 15% among Conservatives and 13% amongst Leave voters.
And there's an interesting one. Do the public think we should abolish the House of Lords and replace it with an elected chamber? They do, according to our poll, 46% supporting the idea, only 8% opposing it.
I'm not so sure about that one, to be honest. Let's see what former Chief Secretary to the Treasury, David Mellor, makes of it all. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm admiring your new haircut.
Oh, what, mine?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I'm thinking, I must have a haircut.
You must, David. It's overdue.
I cannot be left behind.
No, get a number 2 at the back and side and you'll be sorted. Look, we just find it absolutely fascinating on the immigration question that Sir Keir Starmer seems to have his finger on the pulse of what the public are thinking on this.
Well, I think that, you know, the trouble with Labour, they always have to speak with a forked tongue because, on the one hand, you know, Starmer and others were campaigning at the last election for, you know, free access to this country. Now he obviously knows that that's not a winner. But I don't think that... I think only a fool would really believe that Labour don't just say what they think gets them out of a hole at the particular moment that they're being sort of cross-examined on this. But
that applies to all politicians.
Oh, yeah, of course, to some degree. Not me, of course.
No, not you. No,
I was an exception.
But he has been saying various things ahead. It's almost like he's setting the agenda on a lot of issues.
But this is the problem. He is... I mean, I do not understand why Sunak seems to have a passionate desire to get caught up in all the old rows over inadequate and difficult people. I mean, we have all this nonsense about the so-called Deputy Prime Minister, Dominic Raab. He lost his job or had to resign from his job, had no option really to resign from his job as Foreign Secretary. He wouldn't come back from holiday. So what on earth is he doing back as Deputy Prime Minister? Someone said to me, well, he supported Sunak. Well, I'm sure Sunak's dog supported him as well, but it doesn't mean the dog should be made Deputy Prime Minister. And I think that Rishi Sunak has got to wise up to the fact that if he's not careful, all he will do, like walking down the street and seeing where's the nearest leper, grab hold of this leper, and then be surprised when you are thought to be catching some foul disease. The Tories have got to look as though this is a different administration from the Boris Johnson one, and certainly from that ghastly interlude with Liz Truss. I don't think he's doing very well at that level.
No, I mean, this is the problem, isn't it? Because when it comes to, I mean, it's a key issue like immigration, which everyone has got a view on now, and there's a lot of concern out there. Keir Starmer says something it appears to be new, the Conservatives, if they're going to do something on it, have got to really just crack on, haven't they? Because otherwise they said, well, you've had 12 years to sort it out.
Of course, and one of the problems, of course, is we know that immigration was used by some unscrupulous employers to keep wages down by bringing in unskilled labour. And of course, one of the problems with all these people turning up, on the seashore at Dover, they're mainly young men, and they're mainly young men devoid of any qualifications. And what we need to ensure is that British workers are given the training to fill skilled jobs. But it's always been a big problem, and that is that we are paying a lot of people unemployment benefit who are not actually forced to be unemployed. It's optional. And, this is a bad situation.
But talking about retraining or providing training programmes for people who want to be trained in something that's higher level of skill still leaves this massive amount of jobs that at the moment, it appears, Brits don't want to do. Only immigrants will do them. And the danger of that, as we were talking about this earlier, is that you almost develop an underclass of immigrant workers doing grotty
Exactly
jobs.
what you do. And one of the problems is, look, this figure, 500,000, I don't get wound up too much about immigration. I'm sort of, I enjoy variety in the UK. I've got friends from all sectors. So I've never allowed myself to get sort of in business, I wish these people weren't here, because what's the point of that? But even I, tolerant sado that I am, 500,000 more people this year.
It's unsustainable, isn't it?
Totally unsustainable. Well, you just think, I don't know, here's a test for you, because I can't get my head around it. Name me a city that's got 500,000 people in this country. I mean, and then you think to yourself,
that many people.
That number of people have come in since last January. Sorry, I don't see that working in the longer run,
No, not in the long term. Look, can I ask about the House of Lords issue? Because this always gets my go. It always seems like, according to our poll, a lot of people think, yes, it should be an elected chamber. That's the whole point of it, isn't it, surely, that it is not an elected chamber, but a chamber of experts?
Yes, but, first of all, the House of Lords were people born to rule.
Originally, yeah.
That's finished. Then it was supposed to be people of such exceptional quality that they deserved a place in the legislature. You look at some of these people in the House of Lords now. It's terrible. And you get, I don't know, Boris Johnson was going to put somebody in who was 27 years of age. That means that person could live for 60 years, still be a member of the House of Lords and still drawing, every time he or she chose to turn up, 300 quid a day, and that'll probably go up.
Tax-free.
I think the problem is that there has been an abuse of a system. You look at some of the weird and wonderful people that are put there. And I actually think, having never had any interest in going there myself, I had my parliamentary career. As far as I was concerned, I didn't want to prove there was life after death. And of course, an increasing number of people who held high office don't go to the Lords. The people who go to the Lords are people who are unsuccessful candidates somewhere, or people, one chap said to me, I would embarrass him by saying, of course, you get the best table in a restaurant. And I'm afraid I said something truly terrible, so cut my tongue out. I said, but I get the best table in a restaurant
anyway. Yeah. But I've visited the House of Lords, and you do see some lords and ladies, baronesses or whatever, working blooming hard. They sit on special committees, and they really do work.
They do.
Some of them are really valuable, aren't they?
But how does one differentiate between the two? But there's no doubt about it that when you look at the ones that Blair put in, Cameron put in, and so on, it's just the House of Lords has become inundated with people who, on the luck of the draw, are there, but there is no real justification for them being there. You could go on a tube train, choose every 10th person. They make a better fist of being in the House of Lords than a lot of them.
If anyone could stand for
yes,
election.
of course. But you see, what can you do? If you need a second revising chamber, I just don't think it's sustainable to go on having people picked on the basis that, they made a very good cup of tea for the Prime Minister for 5 years. Sorry. I don't think that should work.
There should be a better way of appointing them or whatever.
And I think one of the ways you could do it prime ministers, successive prime ministers have shown they are incapable of discharging that function satisfactorily. So if there's going to be an appointment system for the Lords, at least let it have some objectivity about it.
Well, there is an appointments committee, isn't there?
Yeah, but only reacting to a lot of what prime ministers do. And, you know, for prime ministers, a nice perk, you know, to be able to put somebody in that House of Lords. But I don't think that the British parliamentary system should be run in this way.
OK. David, as always...
There's a big debate.
Isn't it, Joss? Yeah. Ooh.
Well, let's see. How long have you got?
In the morning,
I've got a nice free morning. I'm happy to.
Unfortunately, no. Tell you what's superseding you, David, is that Christmas trees.
Have you got your Christmas decorations up yet?
Yes. I tell you why. Because, funny enough, we were having our drawing room redecorated, and somebody said, "Well, it's pointless putting it back like it was." And in 2 weeks' time, you got to. So we have our Christmas tree.
Well,
yeah.
Well done.
And I'm glad to say, I sat in an armchair and I drank a couple of glasses when my dear partner did all the decorating.
Yeah, that is so
David.
typical.
Mind you, she knows that if I was doing it, the tree would fall over.
Yeah,
or
but that's
I'd electrocute myself on the electric
That's how men like to think. That's
lights
how men get out of it, by saying they can't, you know, they can't do it.
Well, you might be on a similar path with Matt, David, because Matt says, I got home from work and the Christmas fairy, that's my wife, Carrie, had clearly started work yesterday. The tree was up with a pink, silver and white theme.
Oh, well done.
Have we got a picture?
No, not that one. I don't
we
think.
don't.
But we have, from Martin and Mary, or Martin and Marie, says, here's a picture of our tree with the jukebox in the background. Oh, we're still waiting to see the picture.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
look at that fancy jukebox.
Nice jukebox.
Olivia and Paul in Stokenchurch say, we've done the outside of our houses and had to have 2 trees this year. So my husband wanted one in red and white for the World Cup.
Of course. Sigh.
Oh,
He must be Welsh. Red and white.
Yeah.
Well, or England, though, to be fair.
Well, I think England.
I don't see a
England
dragon.
red and white. Not so sure.
Anyway, Kerry says our tree went up last weekend.
Oh, look
so
at
they're
that.
well ahead
A marvel
of
in
time.
blue.
Right, that's jolly nice.
Beautiful, yeah.
It's nice. Philip says this is our outside Christmas tree decoration this year.
Oh, well done, you.
Oh, that's very nice. You are the talk of that street, aren't you?
I'll bet.
With all that. Oh,
Love
beautiful.
It. If you've got any pictures of your Christmas decorations, Christmas trees, whatever, do take a picture and send it in to us, won't you? gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Now, much more to come for you, including beware of the cyber scammers. More on that after this.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes & Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes & Kerr.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther Akve.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
It's 8:28 morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Now, today is Black Friday, and many people are already searching for the best deals online.
Well, yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, absolutely. But you've got to be very careful because identity fraud attempts have increased by more than 20% over the past year. And of course, there'll be a lot of them about today because they'll know that what we're doing is looking for a bargain, looking for something that sounds too good to be true. And in many cases, it may well just be that.
So, of course, some scammers are targeting the rising popularity of energy-saving goods like air fryers by selling them at hugely discounted prices, but of course, they don't exist. You don't actually get them at the end of the day.
Joining us now is Senior Vice President at vouchercodes.co.uk, Maureen McDonough. It's lovely to see you. But yes, we are all likely to come across a scam today, aren't we? And we've got to have the sense to know what's a scam and what isn't and avoid at all costs.
I think the most important thing is to research in advance and make sure the products that you want to buy today or over the weekend, you stick to that list and you use one of the really trusted retailers. If you look on the website address, there's usually a padlock and that tells you that it's a trusted retailer. And if you double check it with Trustpilot, they'll be able to tell you if it's an excellent rating. So definitely take a moment, make sure that padlock is there, make sure that you stick to your list before you get carried away looking at any of those other...
I mean, a lot of us do our shopping. If you do the shopping online, you're doing it from a company that you know anyway, right? If you're just sort of going directly onto the website there. Why is it that when it comes to the checkout, because we know Black Friday deals aren't always that much of a deal, really. Why is it when you get to the checkout, it always says, have you got a voucher code? Is there always discounts available all year long?
Yeah, there are always discounts, but what we do is we work with our retailers to try and find that right price point that works for their margins, but also works for the consumer. And this year we've seen actually a lot of customers not only want discounts on their party dress, but they're also looking at on their washing powder and their Christmas crackers. They're looking for that code for everyday purchases. So it really isn't about that big ticket item or that luxury item. The reality is everyone is feeling the squeeze this year. We've seen 22% more people come to our site this year, and that's up and down the country.
Yeah, what does your site do? I mean, if I want to buy something like an air fryer, for instance, and I think it would be very handy to have a code, is that what I do? I go to your website and say, do you have any codes available for air fryers?
Yeah, so you can come to our site, vouchercodes.co.uk, and anyone can get a deal. You don't have to be signed up. It's free for everyone to use.
Now, the issue is, though, isn't it, that loads of people, because I, being canny, always do it. If I've got something like, I always think, right, I'll search for a voucher code. And 9 times out of 10, they don't work.
So you have to come to our site. Our site, every single code is hand-checked, and it's someone in my team in the UK. So it's on my head.
Right.
And every single code is hand-checked, not just when it goes up on the site, but every single day our codes are hand-checked. And for any reason that you may have an error, we have a code guarantee that we would give you £20 back for that inconvenience. So absolutely, our codes are hand-trusted.
Where do you get them from?
We were born out of the recession back in 2008, and we've been working with our partners for nearly 15 years. So we've built up that trust and that expertise.
But where do you get the code from? I mean, do you ring up do you have a relationship with manufacturers?
Yeah, with the retailers.
With the retailers.
So it could be Tesco, Sephora, Co-op, Buy a Gift, any retailers. We've got 5,000 on the site.
See, that goes to show, doesn't it, that, of course, we all get into a bit of a state over Black Friday. That actually, it's, you know, if you want a good deal, there is normally one out there. We don't have to wait for a certain week of the year to get a good deal.
It will depend on the time of the year. I think there is just a high expectation over the Black Friday weekend that the deals will be better.
Even better.
And retailers have been planning this for months. And I think it's really important, especially where the cost of living is just affecting everybody, that I think everyone is becoming a bit more savvy. And they know that there are some good deals out there and they'll save up. But what we always advise is check the price comparison sites, make sure that you stick to your shopping list, don't get swayed, and just really think about that considered purchase that you want to make this year.
Okay. Busy week for you then, is it?
Busy week, yeah. It's actually been really busy over the summer, and now it's just more making sure that our customers are happy and the retailers are happy, and everyone I guess, their pound goes that little bit further.
Yeah, well, that's always a nice thing, isn't it? Maureen, really good to see you this morning.
Really nice
Thank you very much indeed.
Fascinating business you're in. I didn't even know that sort of thing existed.
Yeah, so if you're buying stuff online, never just click pay until you've checked for a voucher
code. Be able to
code.
knock a few quid off.
Yeah. Every little helps. It all adds up.
It does.
Anyway.
It adds to that feeling that you've actually.
Oh, it does.
You
can't beat a 10% off.
It
can
really
you?
is lovely. Lovely thinking you've got a little bit off. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
There you go. Or even free delivery or something. All very nice. Anyway, for me, but I'm going to go into a shopping frenzy, and I hate spending money, but nevertheless, I like a bargain. We've got much more to come, including today's papers, in just a couple of minutes.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narinda.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something weird happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip
of the iceberg. And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak.
Stop talking. My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere. Amazing! You see, amazing! You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel. Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful. Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
.38 morning to you. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Now, as we've been talking about it, today is Black Friday, and many people have probably already been searching for best deals online. But as we keep saying, be warned, because identity fraud attempts have increased by more than 20% in the last year and are expected to peak probably today and right leading up to Christmas.
Of course, the scammers targeting things like air fryers and all sorts of stuff that's going on. It's a terrible situation. But of course, within all of that, you've got to say, if you're ordering stuff online, how do you get it delivered? Because there's a postal strike going on at the moment, which is going to be hugely problematic. But the postal workers say they've got a real point to make, and they've got to make it now for the sake of their jobs. Let's head over to Northern Ireland. Doogie Beattie is there for us. Morning, Doogie.
Good morning and welcome to the Mail Centre. This is the only mail centre in Northern Ireland. It's at Mollusk, just in the north of Belfast, and I can tell you it is absolutely freezing here this morning. But joining me is Denise Collins. She's the CWU representative in Northern Ireland, and I'm going to just basically ask her, Denise, what's it all about?
Basically what the dispute is about its attack on the terms and conditions of the postal workers. It's an attack on the service, and what we're doing is taking our rightful decision to take industrial action to fight for those very terms and conditions, and to also fight to save this great public service.
How much more disruption can we expect over the Christmas period, and what will it mean to the ordinary person?
Well, there have been further dates announced, so there have been, and up to this point we haven't reached an agreement between Royal Mail and the CWU. So what that means to the ordinary public, that question has to be posed back to the company, because the CWU have been attempting to resolve this dispute for quite some time, from February of this year, and what we have what everybody, including the workers that are taking industrial action today, have attempted to do is attempted to get the company to see that the postal workers are the very foundation of this company, and they are the ones who were clapped and applauded and hailed as heroes during the pandemic, one of the most frightening times in recent history for anybody. And the postal workers were the ones that were out on the streets delivering to 32 million addresses. And they have done everything for the most vulnerable in society, people who couldn't leave their houses, and attempted to have that reach of community. They're the heart of every community. So how far that disruption goes, that question has to be posed back to the company, because the CWU and the postal workers who are standing here today are more than happy to come to an agreement. We want to come to an agreement, because postal workers do not want to be standing out in the freezing cold taken industrial action in the mouth of Christmas. Everybody has their own bills to pay. They have children to care for. They have children to buy Christmas presents for, and they do not want to lose pay. So the company need to come to the table, and they need to get into meaningful talks, and they need to realise that without the foundations that is here of the ordinary postal workers, then, you know, what kind of service are we going to end up with?
Well, of course, this is a private sector. Now it's no longer in the public sector. I mean, do you realise that this is the busiest time for the post office, and of course that'll be eaten into profits and could later cost jobs?
Well, prior to yesterday's industrial action and today's industrial action, the company have already announced 10,000 job cuts. So they have, and we believe that there could possibly be actually more than that. So the company have already made that decision. And again, I understand that this is the busiest time of year, and nobody wants to be striking at this time of the year because, again, we all have bills to pay for. We have children to look after and families to care for, and we need money to do that. There, we have been left with no other choice and no other option other than to take industrial action, to fight for our terms and conditions, but not only for that, but to also fight for this great public service that has been an institution for over 500 years, and the company need to realise that, you know, what they are doing and what they want to proceed forward with is not. It's not, from the perspective of the postal workers, it's not the right way. It is absolutely not the right way.
Well, there you go. Very little room for manoeuvre there, as you can see. It will come to a head somewhere along the line, but with that, it's back to you in London in your lovely, warm studio.
Yeah, it is a lot warmer than it is out there for you, Doogie. Thanks very much indeed. Graham in Coventry says, we have to support our two great posties, Dave and Adam. It should be brought back to being owned by the country. Remember, the stamp has the king on it. Or it will do soon.
Yeah, I doubt it has at the moment.
No, not at the minute. Beverly says, I'm a Royal Mail worker from Wales. Good to see Dave Ward, who's the union boss. He said, Dave mentioned they're sacking 10,000 workers, retaining 11,000 full-time equivalent zero-hour contract workers. Nobody wants to strike. It's heartbreaking. I'm getting just £12 because of the industrial action in the next week, but we have no alternative other than to fight for our beloved Royal Mail.
There's a lot of support out there. Margaret says, I'm going to be supporting the postal workers' strike. My local postie always has a smile on his face, and the same at my place of work. They are a special breed, and they're part of our daily lives. Quite right, too.
Yeah, tend to agree with you on that one. Let's go through the papers once again. Joining us today, as you know, former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Reddrop, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Good morning, you two. Let's kick off, Liz, with The Sun, looking at 500,000 migrants coming to the UK.
Just say Trixie in North Wales isn't sending me a card either. So we're all doomed.
We are.
Very tight, Trixie. Send me one, Trixie.
No, she prefers Oscar now. No, that's Pauline, who's in Cambridge. Anyway.
What the heck? Is this
you
a
miserable
dating agency?
On text now.
Right.
Oh, it's miserable.
Migrants. Well, we discussed this earlier, and I was saying let's take the hysteria out of 500,000 and explain the breakdown of that, Ukrainians, Afghans, etc. It's across the spread in The Sun today, and they're saying, I said it was the equivalent of Leeds, they're saying it's the equivalent of Liverpool. So, however they make up, it's a lot of people coming to this country. But can I just say, you've been discussing about Keir Starmer and what seems to have been his road to Damascus, or red light bulb. Not red light bulb, sorry, light bulb moment. And I was stunned when I heard him say that this week. When the whole debate was going on about Brexit 6 years ago, and people were making sweeping accusations. If you were a Brexiteer, you were anti-migrants, you were anti-immigration, and so you were racist, you're a bigot and everything else. And I was very much against the free movement, I still am, the free movement of people and mass migration. Because, and I was astounded that it wasn't the Labour Party saying this, you know, look what's on the tin, Labour sticking up for workers. Because what this has brought about is really a sort of modern-day equivalent of slavery. OK, people might come here and work and actually get minimum wage. But what we're actually saying is, in Europe, and I generalise across the whole of Western Europe, we're saying, oh, let these people come in and do the jobs cheaply that we don't want to do. Well, we apparently can't get people to do. And so, yeah, let's, for instance, last Friday, I asked the guys at the car wash, where are you all from? They're all from Iran. OK, well, am I happy that some Iranian guy... I was asking about the terms and conditions. I was pleased to get my car washed. Am I happy that some Iranian lads are living in bunk beds in a hostel 30 miles down the road and are busting every morning? I don't think that's the way we should be treating workers any more than replacing Royal Mail staff with 0 hours contract bill. So all these people at bleeding hearts are, you know, let's bring in these poor migrants. Of course, Afghans, Hong Kong, Ukraine, wherever the, you know, but just to say, bring on your cheap labour.
Yeah.
Is very imperialistic and white supremacist, and it's only now that the Labour Party, or the head of the Labour Party, is actually saying, you know what, we should be looking after our Indigenous workers, we should be making sure people are given skills, we should be making sure they have proper wages. Even in the health service, which is topical because the nurses, a lot of the migrants coming in the last year, for the health service, because we don't train our own young people to be doctors because it's more expensive than pinching doctors from an African country. We charge our nurses £60,000 to get trained, and they have to have bursaries, and then they're paying it off. We should be paying for their training rather than importing cheap labour. So I say, and you never thought, would you, Stephen, in all the years we've been doing this, I would say, well done, the leader of the Labour Party.
Oh, well, but you see, that's what he's aiming for, and if that's enough...
He'll clean up.
If there's enough people like you to change your position on, you know, then he's onto a winner, isn't he?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the thing with Keir Starmer, which is interesting, is that he says he's doing this kind of all thing to all men thing at the moment, and he's facing quite a few ways on different issues. That line that Liz quite right to pick up on will cause him a lot of problems to the left of the Labour Party. So I could see him in a few months probably just slightly watering down what he said this week on immigration, and going back over there.
If he wants to keep winning.
Not if he wants to be elected.
True.
It's all fight for the centre ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mind you, let's have a look at the Telegraph, Oscar. Who's behind a Tory rebellion? Well, it can't be, as it says to this, Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, who painted over Boris Johnson's £112,000 wallpaper.
She never.
Yeah.
I didn't know she'd done that.
What, she just got a roller and tray and whacked on the Dulux?
Yeah. No.
Philistine.
Revolving door of number 10 politics.
Yeah.
But I think rebellion's a little bit of is quite a strong term, but I think it's interesting when we talked about Rishi Sunak at the moment, and how I think there's a perception maybe that the government is just in a slight holding pattern of almost managed decline. I don't think people really know what the government's slightly more forward-looking vision for the country is at the moment. I mean, I really don't think people know what... But so I think what Johnson and Liz have done specifically on this issue, so we'll talk about the issue, first of all, on onshore wind, so that former PMs challenged Sunak's authority by demanding an end to the onshore wind farm ban, is an interesting example of this, because... You know, one, energy independence has probably been, I think, it's absolutely one of the top issues of the day. The fact that we're trying to almost, you know, put dampeners on that just seems a little bit ludicrous. And I think the key thing about here as well is that it's also jobs, you know, and it's just, I think you get really proactive prime ministers. And I always thought when I worked with Boris Johnson, he was very front foot, very proactive. And I feel like he's just going to gently remind the government at times when they feel like, you know what, we can maybe just take things, you know, do the managerial approach to stuff, which sometimes is great, but actually, like, what is our forward-looking, proactive, vision for the country? No, absolutely, and actually, you know what? That's not good enough.
No.
That's not good enough. And I think, you know, come the next election again, we talk about the whole intro of issues that the government has. I think if people do not understand, and it's been a charge level that... Keir Starmer, you know, like, what does he stand for? What's his vision? And I think, you know, the government have to be careful of not also, you know, the electorate turning around and going, apart from you bringing me bad news, I don't know what
exactly. That's all there is.
Yeah. What do you stand for? What's your vision?
I know you can say that the situation is bad and worthy of, you know, doom-mongering, but that's all Rishi Sunak seems to do. And tell us how bad things are.
And it's really difficult when you're telling people, you know, in the budget that we had a few weeks ago, you're having to make your you know, lives going to be impacted. You're going to have to make real sacrifices. I think the British people can, you know, do the stiff upper lip stuff, but they want to know why.
Yeah.
They want to know what that future direction is.
Well, yeah, you see, in terms of that, and it follows on, this is also in the Telegraph, Liz, looking at the nurses' strike. And they're saying it's going to strand people in hospital at Christmas. I mean, the nurses are going on strike, the RCN, because the health secretary is refusing to even sort of meet to negotiate, to talk about anything. Now, that, to me, that just begs
his job, isn't it?
Yeah, there's such a mess. I mean, you've got nurses' pay increased slightly, but not as much as they want. But then you've got nurses leaving the NHS.
It's retention's the big issue.
Leaving the NHS and going straight to an agency and getting paid hundreds and hundreds of pounds a day.
For doing the same job.
For doing the same job. And the local management just reacts in desperation and hire them, and the same with locum doctors. And I was reading about the NHS the other day, and in this article it had quotes from, and loads of them, I can only remember 3, it had quotes from NHS England, NHS Resolution, the NHS Confederation. And I wrote a list and I looked up what all these people do. Talk about layers of management and quangos. And it said that 5,000 jobs management jobs in one of these things. Well, why can't you get rid of them and pay more nurses and doctors? But the article itself is about the strike and the days which your reporter cited for the strikes, the 15th and the 20th of December. And the thrust of this one is you're going to get elderly people who are fit to go home and stranded in their beds in hospital over Christmas simply because there's nobody to prepare them and discharge them for release. And it will exacerbate it, but it's happening now. I know somebody who's sitting in hospital and they just can't get him out because there's no care home. And I've witnessed with my relatives the procedure for discharging somebody, and you see other patients on the ward. They get somebody out of bed at like 8 o'clock in the morning, all washed and dressed and sitting there with their bag and their handbag on the knee. And that person is still there at 6 o'clock at night because there's been nobody to bring their medication up from the pharmacy.
But that's why the nurses are striking, isn't it? They are fed up. It's not just about pay. It's about understaffing and conditions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should be listening to them more.
Well, look, we're out of time.
That's ridiculous.
Liz, Oscar, thank you both very much
you.
indeed. Let's just...
But you have been inundating us with wonderful pictures of your Christmas trees. Have we got time for a quick look at them now?
No.
We haven't. Well, we'll do that. We'll do that a bit later on then. But thank you. Keep them coming as well.
I was looking forward to seeing what Satpal had sent in.
I was as well.
But anyway, never mind. We'll get to it, Satpal, in the next hour. But we are going to return to Cardiff ahead of a massive match for Wales at the World Cup this morning.
Good morning, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office. A bright and breezy Friday out there today. Sunny spells for most, and not much in the way of rain. We certainly had a lot of wet and windy weather over the past 48 hours from a couple of weather fronts in this low pressure system. But here, this little bump in the isobars is what we call a little ridge, and that will bring, as I say, most of us a fine day. Not everywhere. Still in the west, there are a few showers feeding in parts of South Wales, Southwest England this morning, Northwest England too, and we'll keep showers going over the Highlands and the Western Isles through the day. Some will just get through the central belt and perhaps into parts of Aberdeenshire, but I say for many it will be dry and bright with some decent spells of sunshine. Still a bit breezy, but nothing like as lively as the winds have been. And temperatures responding to a bit of sunshine, double figures almost across the board. Maybe only 8 or 9 in the eastern parts of Scotland, but in the south we could see highs of 13 Celsius, pretty mild for the time of year. It will turn quite cold quite quickly this evening if you're heading out. Most places will be dry. Still the odd shower for West Wales, Northwest England, but I say most places will be dry. Some wet weather will keep going across the far north of Scotland. With those lighter winds and clearer skies, it will turn quite chilly with frost in certainly rural areas over the Midlands and eastern England to start the weekend. Further west, though, the breeze will be picking up and the next weather system will be on the way, bringing rain to Northern Ireland initially on Saturday morning, but it will spread to parts of western Scotland and by lunchtime into parts of Wales and western England too. I suspect much of the Midlands, eastern England, some parts of Aberdeenshire won't see any rain until quite late in the day, and much of East Anglia in the southeast will stay dry, certainly until after sunset. It will be turning windy, though, during tomorrow. The wind's steadily picking up, but it is going to bring mild air with it, so temperatures in the teens, as they could be on Sunday. There could also be some stubborn rain across East Anglia in the southeast on Sunday. Some question marks about that, but elsewhere looking a little brighter.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
On the Mark Stein Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Stein Show.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12, on TV, on radio and online.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me, noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
It's Black Friday. The sales are on, but so are the scams.
Good morning to you. It's 9 o'clock. It's Friday, the 25th of November. 1 month to go. This is Breakfast on GB News with Stephen and Anne.
And as you know, we're live across the whole of the UK on both your TV and your radio. And of course, wherever you are in the world, you can watch us online. So here are your top stories this morning.
Well, Black Friday is one of the biggest shopping days of the year, but it is also a prime opportunity for cyber criminals. So we'll bring you tips and advice on how to keep your money safe.
And then, of course, there's football, because England play the USA in the World Cup later. But it's all about Wales this morning, with their game against Iran kicking off in the next hour. We are live in Cardiff as the excitement builds amongst the Welsh fans.
And we're with nurses, the latest group of workers to confirm they're going on strike this winter. And we're going to be talking to the Labour Party chair, Annalise Dodds.
And as ever, as you know, you can join in any of our discussions, and you can also send us pictures of your Christmas trees, please. Send them to gbviews@gbnews.uk.
Well, let's kick off with the football, should we? Because England and Wales are both back in action at the World Cup today. The Three Lions play the USA this evening. Knowing a win will see them qualify for the last 16.
But before that, Wales kick off in just under an hour's time. Yeah, just under an hour. And they're playing Iran, hoping for a better result than their opening draw against the US.
Well, what better place to be than Cardiff this morning as that excitement builds. Ellie Costello is there for us today. Morning, Ellie. I mean, look, there might not be that many people gathered around you. They're in warm rooms, hopefully. But is there a sense? Is there a sense in the city that there is a real sense of excitement building there this morning?
Absolutely, Stephen and Anne. I'm not even Welsh, and I am so excited for this game in just under an hour's time. We have to stay quite still because the signal isn't great, but I am just going to show you this bar behind me just to show you quite how lively this place is already. You might be able to make out the music. There's already pumping out of this pub behind us. You can see the security. Look, we're getting some fist bumps there from some very excited Welsh fans. You can see they're wearing their red, their yellow and their green bucket hats. That's kind of become synonymous with football in this country. Almost everyone that we've been speaking to this morning is wearing those Welsh bucket hats. You can hear people chanting in the streets. Bearing in mind, it is 9 o'clock in the morning. All of the bars up here in the centre of Cardiff, they have big security sections outside. There's security standing on the bars, obviously hoping to keep people very, very safe here today. But huge groups of mainly men gathering already with just under an hour to go until kick-off. So much excitement. I've just been speaking to some fans on the way into the pubs this morning. They've been talking a little bit about the fact that it's in Qatar. Some of them feeling a little bit torn as to how they feel about the World Cup being held in a country with a poor human rights record, with migrant workers that have been killed whilst building the stadiums there. But they're also so happy to see their national team playing in a World Cup for the first time in 64 years. And to take that into perspective for you, that means that if you're under retirement age in Wales, you have never seen your national team play in a World Cup. So for so many people here, this is such a massive deal. Every single person that I've spoken to this morning has taken the day off work. They want to see history being made today. Whatever happens, Gareth Bale is going to become the most capped Welsh player of all time. And if there's a win today, it's going to be the first win in a World Cup for Wales in 64 years. So much excitement here and anticipation for the match that kicks off at 10 o'clock, Wales versus Iran. And it could be tighter than you might think. Iran is ranked 20th in the world. Wales is ranked 19th. But according to the Welsh that I've been speaking to this morning, they've got this in the bag.
Yeah, and we're seeing pictures from Qatar at the moment as well of the Welsh fans there in rather better weather, I think, than you've got, Ellie. Looks a bit chilly there.
Yes, well, it's staying dry for us now, so let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, if not, get yourself in that bar. Ellie, thank you very much indeed. Let's talk to former Welsh striker Robert Earnshaw. Robert, it's really good to see you this morning. I mean, I just think looking at your background, 16 goals in 59 games for Wales. I bet you wish you were putting one in the back of the net for them this morning.
Well, good morning. Absolutely, yes. It's a morning that I wake up, I'm excited. And it would have been even better if I was waking up, eating that pasta ready for the game out in Qatar, ready for this World Cup game. So absolutely, I would have loved to have been there to play. But listen, I've had a great time playing for the national team, and some of my ex-teammates are there right now playing in that team. So I'm supporting them. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, what would you say will be not the highlights, but who should we be watching particularly? Who are you finding interesting that we should be looking at?
Well, I think, of course, we always mention Gareth Bale. He's a must-watch because he's just a superstar and he delivers so much. The other one I'll probably say is Aaron Ramsey. Still yet, he hasn't found his rhythm yet. Is this the game that we see him deliver? Because normally he's been the one that when Gareth Bale hasn't performed or when we need somebody else, Aaron Ramsey is the one that always steps up. he never lets us down. So, and then the other one who is being a real key, and he's just made the World Cup squad because he's been injured for the last 2 months. He was in danger, but he's been in the squad for the last 10 years or so. Joe Allen, Robert Page says he's fit, but I don't think he'll start. He'll probably be on the bench, but I think everybody will cheer if he gets any minutes at all because he's been injured, but he's such a key figure.
Yeah, it's interesting because the fans we've been talking to out in Qatar seem very, very split on whether Joe Allen should be on the bench or not. But I guess it's all about, because it's such a crucial match, just getting the strongest team that you can out there.
Well, yes, I understand it. But listen, I've coached and also been playing. And so I understand how it goes on behind the scenes. He hasn't played for a couple of months. I know for a fact that he's nowhere near match fit or even game fit. It's just he's going to be running on adrenaline and just being excited about being at the World Cup. So he's not fit. He should be on the bench, even though if he was in better condition, he would probably start and he should start. But right now for this game, he shouldn't because he's not ready. And you're going into a game that it's a must-win versus Iran. So I don't think he's in the tip-top shape to actually start, but it'd be great for him to get some minutes.
Well, you've just used that phrase, it's a must-win. Obviously, they're aware of that. Are they a good team to perform under that sort of pressure?
Yeah, well, I mean, we, as Wales, we love to be the underdogs, the ones who, nobody gives us a chance, and then all of a sudden we surprise everyone. So it is a must-win. You see the second half against USA the other day, very poor first half, but we go 1-0 down. And then when we're 1-0 down, that's when we come and say, come on, now the game is for us. So this is a game that it sits up nicely. It's a must win. I think Wales will come out and really go forward, which is, I think they're in a better position when they do that rather than sometimes sit back. But I think Wales will do this today.
Just briefly, I mean, you're a man who knows his hat tricks. That's for sure. A lot of the fans were saying 3-1 today out in Qatar. You think we'll see those sort of numbers?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was my prediction too. So maybe they got it from me, but a 3-1 Wales win, that's what I'm predicting. So I think Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey and Kiefer Moore. So you heard it here first. So later on when we see the score, and it's exactly that way.
OK, we'll throw you an extra tenner. Robert, really good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
OK, appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it's not long now because that kick-off is at 10 our time. Less than an hour to go.
Exciting stuff.
It is, actually.
Weirdly,
yeah.
and I'm not into football. But
well, me either, but I even found
it.
myself asking a football-y type question there.
You did,
right? It was very impressive.
I was
I don't normally... I almost sounded as though I knew what I was talking about. I promise you I didn't.
Anyway, look, to more... Well, football is a serious matter, but when it comes to politics, things become a lot... Especially at the moment, things become a lot more serious. And certainly on this issue, Sir Keir Starmer has committed to a personal mission to tackle violence against women and girls. It comes as new figures reveal 97% of sexual offences are currently failing to end in charges despite record levels of reporting.
Well, we're joined now by the Shadow Secretary of State for Women and Equalities, Annalise Dodds, who joins us now. And a very good morning, thank you. This is a really serious situation because we've talked about this for years and years, and it would now seem that we're not getting very far at all. We as a society, and maybe even the police as well as a force, simply don't understand how to tackle the problem of violence against women.
Well, we really urgently need to take action. I mean, those statistics are absolutely shocking. I mean, when it comes to some of the most serious offences like rape, currently we're seeing less than 2% of reported rapes, and of course many of them aren't reported, less than 2% of reported rapes actually resulting in a conviction. You know, this is dreadful. There are measures we can take to improve the situation. You know, for example, Labour said that right at the beginning, when a woman makes a report, and of course it often takes a huge amount of courage to do that we need to have sufficient police to actually deal with it. That's why we would introduce 13,000 more police in the UK to have that policing resource. Secondly, we've got to get a grip on the courts because very often women will be waiting for months or years before they see justice. And actually, if you have to relive what happened to you over and over again over a long period of time. Lots and lots of those women are dropping out. They're dropping out before their case gets to court, 40% of them dropping out. So we would have the specialist rape courts that many people involved in this area say are necessary, that would speed things up, make sure that those trials are actually informed by the expert evidence that's needed. And then we would try and break this cycle, because unfortunately we see it's very often the same men who are carrying out abuse against women and girls. You know, they'll focus on one woman, ruin her life, and then move on to the next. So we believe there needs to be a register for domestic abusers so the police can actually track them, can take action, can break that cycle. So we can take action to deal with this. We need to have the political will, however, and Keir Starmer certainly does have that political will.
We've got to be careful, though. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't serious failings here. I think it's pretty obvious to everyone there are serious systemic failings when it comes to these sort of issues. But when you say only 2% of people who report a rape and it ends up in a conviction, I mean, we're not saying 98% of people get away with it. We've got to have a fair criminal justice system. Some of these allegations may not be true, of course.
Well, absolutely. And that's why we need to have a robust system. And, you know, I can certainly, from the experience I've had of talking with rape victims, tell you that the system right now isn't working for anybody. It's not delivering that justice. Those enormous delays, you know, they're dreadful, obviously, for victims. They lead to major issues around evidence when you're waiting for that long. But if someone has been wrongfully accused, it's no good for them either. You know, it's no good for anybody that we have this system that's taking so long. Now, I heard of one teenage victim of rape who waited for 2 years before there was a trial, and then just days before it was going to take place, she was informed, well, actually, it's going to be put back for a few more months. You know, that's ruined her life, having to wait for that long to see justice, to see the perpetrator actually brought to book. You know, this is a system that's failing, particularly women and girls, very badly indeed.
Can I change tack and just ask you briefly about the nurses' strike? It's something that's upsetting so many people who've got sympathy for nurses, but also don't want to see our hospitals with no nurses for at least 2 days before Christmas. What do you feel is a fair way of settling this? How much money do you think they are worth?
Well, the fair way of settling this is to have a health secretary who will actually sit down with nurses and negotiate that fair settlement. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a health secretary being willing to meet with the Royal College of Nursing. Since Sajid Javid, we've had 3 Conservative health secretaries since then. I don't understand why the current health secretary, Steve Barclay, didn't engage on this over the summer, despite the nurses asking repeatedly to meet with him to talk about this. And ultimately, it's going to be patients who are paying the price for this, as well as, of course, those nurses. So we need government to engage on this. Quite frankly, they're being grossly negligent at the moment. They need to sit down and sort this out. And they also need to deliver the additional nurses that we desperately need. Labour said we'd pay for that by cancelling this ridiculous loophole for non-DOMs so that they pay so much less tax than everybody else. We need government to get a grip.
So you're not prepared to put a figure on it then and say, well, I mean, we don't quite know exactly what their demands are, but an inflation levelling sort of pay rise, you're not prepared to commit to that should you be in government this time next year?
Well, we have no idea, unfortunately, what state the public finances will be in when there is that general election. Obviously, we've seen very slow growth under Conservative governments, but we've also seen deteriorating public finances under Conservative governments as well. But I can tell you what would be very different. You would not see Labour health secretaries running away from sitting down and meeting with nurses, understanding the challenges that they face and trying to get the system back off its knees and working again for patients. That's the big difference with Labour. And it's why we didn't see a single strike in the NHS under all of those Labour governments, not a single strike, and why for the first time in 100 years, under the Conservatives, we're seeing industrial action from nurses.
OK, Anne-Lee Stodds, got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed. Although that answer, I felt, sort of more or less said, if the economics can't we can't afford it, then we can't afford to pay them either.
Well, possibly so, but I did agree with her point in saying, well, at least we'd talk to them.
I don't understand why they're not talking to them.
That seems very odd, doesn't it?
Apart from anything else, the optics look so bad.
Yeah.
To not be sitting down with the nurses to talk it through. Tell you what, shall we change the subject slightly to Christmas? Your Christmas decorations, your Christmas trees. Thank you so much for sending in pictures. Satpal has been in touch, saying our Christmas tree was put up by my son, Sohan, and wife, Tina, last week, Thursday.
Very nice,
Very
too.
nice, bit tasteful.
Paula says, just a thought to show my friends Christmas decorations. It's also for the Wallace and Gromit Children's Charity.
Very nice, too.
Yes.
Love the reindeer.
Just a bob or two, I bet.
I'll bet.
Paul in Hull says, my wife Tracy on average needs about 4 retakes on the decorations, but this year did it in 1.
Yeah, that's a really nice tree.
It's a very nice tree.
And Sharon in Portsmouth says, this is our tree, put up last Sunday to motivate me to crack on with Christmas and the shopping list. It all worked, so it's all done now.
Very well organised.
On with the shopping, but be really careful because we've been talking about it all day. Black Friday, it is black, yeah, Black Friday. You don't want it to be black for you, do you? Particularly when you're buying air fryers, apparently.
Yes, that's a big issue.
There are lots of sort of rubbish deals about, so be very careful not to get scammed.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store? You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes & Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debate, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes & Kerr.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by 2 of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Time is flying by this morning. It's 9:21. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
And as we've been saying all morning, it's Black Friday. I wonder if you are going to be going online trying to buy something that you might never have even dreamt of buying had we not been telling you constantly that it's Black Friday today, because it's the day you're meant to be getting really good deals on stuff.
Supposedly, well, according to the latest data, our spending is going to be 7% higher than last year. The World Cup is apparently boosting the forecast.
Weird. Joining us now is Mark Nalder, who's the Director of Payment Strategy at Nationwide. Good morning. Hello. Lovely to see you.
Good morning, both. How are you?
Are you going to be buying anything that you would never have dreamt of buying otherwise today?
No, not at all. I did some purchases last night, but yeah, they were all pre-planned Christmas gifts.
I see. So look, what are we spending? How much are we spending today?
Well, we're forecasting a record day. You know, we forecasting 7% higher volumes than last year. So, and so far the volumes we've seen so far are absolutely bang on 7%. So, purchases, ranging from kind of clothing, small electrical goods, perfumes, toys. The kind of usual Christmas gifts. Really, that's kind of a good day to get those gifts today.
Do you think most people are doing exactly what you said you were doing, really, is thinking about, right, Christmas is coming, obviously, I've got a list of things, and given that it is Black Friday, there should be some good deals out there, even despite the fact that we're warning continually that there also are some scammers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we absolutely see Black Friday as being a really good day for people spreading the cost around Christmas. People are looking to get those maybe reduced prices and spread the cost of Christmas, and get those early gifts. But if we do say if it seems too good to be true, it normally is too good to be true. So we do warn our customers and our members that to be really careful when they're making online purchases today.
I mean, it's scary. When you say you're looking at the data so far and up 7%, what does that mean in real terms? How much are we spending every hour or every minute so far today?
Well, we've seen about 1.5 million transactions already today, before 9 o'clock, so very, very early in the day. We're forecasting, we think we're going to see about £320 million worth of spend today, just on cards alone, just for our members. So quite a big number today.
Wow.
Well, ka-ching. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much for joining us. My goodness.
No worries. Thank you both.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, if it's not too early to say that,
Yeah.
especially if you're getting stuff and wrapping it.
Yeah, wow. I mean, yes, so that works out about £220,000 a minute, something like that. I mean, it's a lot, isn't it?
How much of that is you?
Not much, thank you very much. That is it from us. We're back tomorrow morning at 6.
We are indeed, yes.
But up next, it's a briefing with
Fingers
Tom.
crossed for the football.
Good morning, I'm Alex Deakin, and this is your latest weather update from the Met Office. A bright and breezy Friday out there today. Sunny spells for most, and not much in the way of rain. We've certainly had a lot of wet and windy weather over the past 48 hours from a couple of weather fronts in this low pressure system. But here, this little bump in the isobars is what we call a little ridge, and that will bring, as I say, most of us a fine day. Not everywhere. Still in the west, there are a few showers feeding in parts of South Wales, Southwest England this morning, Northwest England too, and we'll keep showers going over the Highlands and the Western Isles through the day. Some will just get through the Central Belt and perhaps into parts of Aberdeenshire, but I say for many it will be dry and bright with some decent spells of sunshine. Still a bit breezy, but nothing like as lively as the winds have been. And temperatures responding to a bit of sunshine, double figures almost across the board. Maybe only 8 or 9 in the eastern parts of Scotland, but in the south we could see highs of 13 Celsius, pretty mild for the time of year. It will turn quite cold quite quickly this evening if you're heading out. Most places will be dry. Still the odd shower for West Wales, Northwest England, but I say most places will be dry. Some wet weather will keep going across the far north of Scotland. With those lighter winds and clearer skies, it will turn quite chilly with frost in certainly rural areas over the Midlands and eastern England to start the weekend. Further west, though, the breeze will be picking up, and the next weather system will be on the way, bringing rain to Northern Ireland initially on Saturday morning, but it will spread to parts of western Scotland and by lunchtime into parts of Wales and western England too. I suspect much of the Midlands, eastern England, some parts of Aberdeenshire won't see any rain until quite late in the day, and much of East Anglia in the southeast will stay dry, certainly until after sunset. It will be turning windy though during tomorrow, the wind's steadily picking up, but it is going to bring mild air with it, so temperatures in the teens, as they could be on Sunday. There could also be some stubborn rain across East Anglia in the southeast on Sunday. Some question marks about that, but elsewhere looking a little brighter.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narinda.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something good happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky.
That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak.
Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.